players pick up points by competing in basically 2 phases of this event. Today, we're going to have a 9-round Swiss, the time control of 10+0. And then the top 8 players are going to qualify for a knockout that's going to take place tomorrow. So yeah, I guess we can move to the overall season format.
Okay.
Here folks can see basically I think you take the best 13 weeks, so you can play more. I think Naka's played in much more than 13 events, but you take your best 13 scores, and the top 12 players will qualify for the finals that I think are taking place in August, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, a lot of money on the line, not just in the finals, but also this weekend. It's going to be, I think, 7,500 for the first place, which is not bad for just one weekend of work.
Yeah, it's $20,000 prize fund every single week during the regular season, and another $150,000 in the finals. I've been slightly confused about the 26 weeks times 20,000 equals 520,000, but I've been told that the weekly prize fund somehow adds up to 500,000. So
roughly, sure.
Roughly. So yeah, so 500,000 plus 150,000. Very, very big to get into the knockout bracket today. And when you see how the rounds play out, you'll see that very clearly. It's like you want to be in the top 8, and that's all that kind of matters today for the contestants. The Grand Prix points also really line up with making it into the top 8, because first place is 10 points, second place is 7 points, and making it into the knockout gets you at least 3 points. So there's 1 or 2 Grand Prix points for people who do well today without making it into the knockout. But if you want to move up that Grand Prix leaderboard and get into the top 12, you really need to be scoring somewhere in that top 8.
Right. But yeah, at least something to play for, even if you don't get into the knockout, which is cool.
Yeah. So our current standings, which are not at all set in stone. It's interesting that with this 26-week race that, people might get out to a lead or might be in this position or that, but actually it looks to me like up to week 25 and 26, there may be some spots undecided, because if you look at the people who are, somewhere between 10th place and 20th place, that's like a 15-point difference. And if you get first place one week, you get 10 points. So it's very easy in a week or two for that to get shaken up.
Yeah, I was looking at this list, and it's like, okay, there are some monsters on the list. Like, there's some players that are going to make it to the finals. You got your like Hikaru, Andreikin, Caruana, Dubov, like these guys for sure. And then there's maybe a couple spots like 8 through 12, right, that might be really extremely competitive, right? Because you have all these young players, you have all these like superstars. Like, I'm shocked to see Wesley currently not qualifying, but I feel like he's going to be a contender pretty much like throughout the rest of the season. And yeah, it's going to be very fun for me to see like really these like amazing players all kind of battling it out for just like a couple of spots. I mean, it's really going to be brutal at the end. Like, every point is gonna count.
Right. So Jan Nepomniachtchi is one player who's not currently in the top 12, but could easily make the top 12 because he has won an event before. And if you look at his participation is the lowest of people in this top 20. He's only played 7 events. So if he shows up, plays one more event and wins it, he'd be like up into the top 12 immediately. And he's obviously super capable of doing that. Wesley is, as you say, another big name who I watched. And last week he was in round 9 of this Saturday Swiss on board 1. And he lost the game and didn't make the second day. He was in sort of a must-win game and lost with white and didn't make the knockout and didn't really add to his tally. But he'll be threatening every time he plays.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there. So many strong players.
Speaking of strong players, Hikaru just joined the tournament.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already way at the top, but yeah, I saw he's won $57,000 this year in rapid chess, just in this event. Just crazy.
Yeah, the top couple players in those standings there, as we saw also their prize money, the top couple players have really taken a large chunk of the prize fund. If you look from like Levon Aronian at number 5 up to Hikaru, right? They've taken more than $150,000 of the prize fund, you know, which means like well over 33% of what's been paid out so far. And, you know, Hikaru's probably looking to increase that percentage even further today.
Yeah, just kind of stamp his dominance on the rest of the field. Why not? Why not go into the finals as like an overwhelming leader, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the other top players playing today, we've also got the second top player. Unless you're familiar with, you know, the Rapid Chess Championship, Entitled Tuesday, and follow them all the time, you may not know that Fair Chess on YouTube is Dimitri Andreikin. And he is currently number 2 on the rating list for this event and number 2 on the standings for the whole RCC season. Have you seen Andreikin in action recently, Kostya?
Not recently, but I've been watching Andreikin for years, like since his ICC days. I mean, this guy has been like a blitz monster for forever, always playing just like the simplest positions, but just like, yeah, I mean, just going like toe to toe with anyone. So he's just like super good. I never expect him to lose ever, except maybe when he plays Hikaru. Maybe that's the one game where I'm not sure. Yeah.
Last week he only lost 2 games, one in the Swiss and one in the knockout. So he had a pretty strong week, but the winner last week was Daniil Dubov, and he is joining us again this week as the 7th seed. I thought he would take the week off. I don't know if you saw any parts of the interview he gave us last week, but he said, you know, he's played the same. For him, freshness and variety is important. That's probably not a surprise, seeing how fresh his style of chess is. But he said, you know, that he hadn't been intending to play last week, but then Kramnik was like, how do I join the Zoom call? You know, like, you know, asking him some sort of boomer GM type questions. Too bad we don't have Jesse here today to ask the same questions. And then he was like, what the heck? I've spent like 30 minutes on like, you know, tech support for joining this event. I might as well just join it. He ended up winning and playing really well all week. But he kind of said, you know, since the format's the same every week, he kind of didn't feel the need to play many more weeks. And he was more probably looking forward to the final, which will be a different format. But here he is today. And real quick, another couple important names in the standings. Grishuk is playing today, and and the games are underway. And cool. Look at this. We've got my co-host from last week.
From last week, yeah, I was watching that show with Benjamin Bach going up against Andreikin here. Ooh. And Andreikin just goes straight into this like kind of passive endgame.
Yeah,
he probably has tons of experience and knows just exactly what to do to hold it.
Right. You said that Andreikin would play very safely and simply and rarely lose. And I think Benjamin is taking a page from that book, right? By playing the kind of variation you would expect Andreikin to play as white as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is super solid for both sides. I feel like it is surprising for a blitz game, or I guess rapid blitz, but you feel like it's kind of hard for black to hold the structure because black immediately goes into this endgame with these double def pawns, and it feels very weak. But black gets certain compensation in terms of the E4 square and the G file. And actually, the Kramnik, as you mentioned, he was a big proponent of this line. So he I think held many games here on the black side.
Yeah, and in this position here, after knight f6, for a second, I was thinking, does knight h4 just win that weak pawn right where it stands? But I realized that if black plays knight e4, they tempo f2, and then they can play knight d6 after white defends c2. So, so white just calmly arranges the rook, defends the f pawn, and nothing dramatic just yet. Black prevents knight h4.
Yeah. And so, okay, now Benjamin's spending his time here, probably just trying to come up with some kind of plan, like maybe transferring the knight to d3, maybe thinking about pushing f3 somewhere. I think, okay, one thing he definitely doesn't want to do is take on e4, because that would just correct black's structure, and then I think black would just be doing great. And Andreikin just goes h5. He knows exactly what he's doing. As soon as that knight moves off of f3, he pushes the h pawn, white goes h4. And now a5, the other rook pawn. That's how you play these end games nowadays. Just go h5, a5 in every position. It always seems to work out for these players. I don't know why exactly, but that's what you're supposed to do.
That pawn's going to need some tending. It would have been really nice for black if in this position they could somehow play the move f4, cracking into that structure. And on gf4, there was bishop takes h4, but on ef4, there wasn't anything concrete or convincing, right? So so how does black handle this idea of knight f4, bishop d6 to potentially trade it? And black clears the way for the other knight to go to f4. So
wow, almost getting mated with knight d2 check, but he's got king g2 still. Imagine if white put a rook on g2. Oh my god.
Overprotect f2.
But I like this strategy because he didn't put the knight on f4 immediately, because black would have just hacked it off and then forced white to double their f pawns. He puts a bunch of pieces to defend this square, so now he can just always recapture with the piece. But this is kind of the problem. It's like, okay, black just plays rook h8 and says, like, what are you gonna do? Like, okay, I'm passive, congratulations, but how exactly are you gonna break through? c6 is well defended.
He's claiming he's only got one weakness,
not so easy.
The doubled f pawns.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like white can attack h5, but very hard to attack f5.
Yeah, you kind of get to pick with the knights, right? You can either arrange them to attack one or the other, but hard to defend, hard to go after both at once. And Andreikin teaching us something with this a4 maneuver, restraining white from ever playing the b4, b5 plan to look for a second weakness, and then he activates the rook.
But Bach just plays b3 anyway. And I wonder on ab3 if he wants to take with the rook here to trade off a pair of rooks, or if he's just going to take with the pawn and push b4,
right.
Knight c5.
Okay, this move makes a lot of sense to me, knight f6, because I was just going to say that if a file opens on the queen side, which is looking, possible, then white would have one extra rook to take over whatever file opens up, as long as the h8 rook is busy. So, so the great knight on e4, it voluntarily withdraws.
Yeah, so David, I want to ask you, which of these players do you feel like is more comfortable playing without the increment? Because nowadays I feel like all these events like Title Tuesday and stuff usually have like 1 or 2 second increments, so the players get used to running their clock down and then playing these end games out just using their 1 or 2 seconds. But since this is 10-0, of course they have to be a lot more mindful, right? You can't just let their clock run all the way down.
Right. So
did you notice anything in the last week?
I mean, Andreikin was definitely very comfortable with the time control, and specifically he's played this event so many times. Bach has often commentated rather than playing, so he hasn't played as often. but he's played, 8 events. So he's been around on this. And as a streamer, I think he plays a lot of speed chess online. So I think he'll be pretty comfortable as well. I keep wondering about the idea of 95. I think that's come in as being an important thematic move in the position, the move that they need to calculate every single move, both of these players.
Yeah, and especially now after b5, 95 seems like a very forcing move.
Yeah.
Force black to take on e5, and then de, and then the h5 pawn could be falling here. So this feels like a big chance for white.
Yeah, if white goes for it, and this is an idea I was already calculating maybe 1 or 2 moves ago, it started to come up. As soon as the rook left h8, you've got this idea of like winning the h5 pawn, but then, you get checked by the knight, your king comes up, right? And you can get some
total mess
of that sort, right? Hard to predict. 95 has just been played in the game though. So let's see how it progresses. Knight g4 is played, and Bach also has the option of playing knight d3 here and king f4 and not going into like.
It's good that he's pausing. It's very good that he's stopping here.
Yeah.
Because knight d3 looks like it could be really strong. And then just king f4, f3, or taking on f5.
I mean, black's resources maybe rook a3. If white goes knight d3, so it's not like, it's not like you just can control everything in this position. It's probably gonna have some amount of messiness. He's gone for knight d3 though.
So yeah, so rook a3, he needs some kind of answer, because if he goes rook d2, it's gonna be rook takes d3. So maybe he wants like knight c5 check. Not really sure. Andreikin's clearly thinking about it, because like, what does this guy want on rook a3? So maybe knight c5, king goes somewhere, and king f4.
Right.
White just holds on to the e pawn.
Yeah, that's the big deal. If white can somehow keep some control of the position, white could get an amazing advantage out of the king just getting into the game. So
yeah, you can see Andreikin here. He doesn't look too comfortable.
You're right. You're right. And it's very rare actually last week to see him look visibly uncomfortable like that. Last week he really looked quite icy, but I guess he also rarely had a bad position.
Well, that would do it. Yeah.
If I try to remember even one of the games that he lost, I was watching, and he didn't look visibly under pressure during the game.
Yeah, usually he looks kind of cool and chill, and he might be like much worse out of the opening, but he knows he's going to have his chances. And okay, f6. So this is definitely an attempt to change the character of the game.
Yeah. Now let's try and figure out what he wants after pawn takes pawn. My first thought was that, you might want to play king e6 in response, but there's rook takes c6.
Yeah.
So how do we, as black, oppose the plan of king f4, king f5 here? Is he going to try rook f8 to f6?
Maybe that's what he wants. Of course, knight f6 allows knight e5, which seems like everything just collapses. And white takes on c6, and then black is left with 4 isolated pawns, right? So that would be okay. And then we see a king d6. So he's just trying to mix it up, hoping to pick up this pawn and
taking away the knight checks. But the obvious question from Bach is going to be king f4, and Bach asks it. And now he's got a choice between king f5, rook f8, or knight e5 first.
Right. Which knight e5 first looks very tempting. Tie the rook down to c8 and then take on f5.
Yeah. On king f5, rook f8, I suppose white would have king g6, so it's not it's not necessarily a disaster, although it's not exactly, well, black has some kind of sense of activity and coordination there. I wonder if knight e5 could hurt more.
Yeah, he does take knight e4
Yeah,
quickly,
threatened with
king
the bait,
g6.
and heads to g6 quickly. Does black have
Rook
a
g8.
perpetual if you take on h5?
Oh, it's this classic perpetual, but on the side of the board. Very nice. It takes knight f6. Ah,
King
very
h6,
cute.
knight g4, king h7, knight f6.
But no, king f7, no draw. Absolutely not.
Yeah. It's your chance to shine, Benjamin, and Benjamin knows it.
No, it's a big chance. Yeah, he's got to be feeling like he's close to winning here because knight's coming to f4. And now this h pawn is really, really a pain. So yeah, Andreikin doesn't even pretend like he's going to defend that one. Now I think at this point just wants to counterplay with like rook a4. So we'll see here.
Yeah,
Knight f4 played.
Yeah, that's reasonable. You can at least make the position get out of control if you get some counterplay. Seems like white is a step faster, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to win.
So knight f6, that's very logical, trying to kind of simplify into this this rook endgame.
Your rook endgame, yeah, because black's knight was on a great square in the center, right? It makes sense. Like if you look, it looks like black's knight is much better than white's temporarily. So
yeah, but yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe white could have also played knight f4, and then maybe the knight's useful of dealing with black's pawns. Or
I have a suspicion because I saw this, evaluation bar.
Yeah, eval bar.
Unfortunately, I have a suspicion that the right move was knight to g7. A move I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. But the idea is you come through f5, you harass the king that's still defending the c pawn, and you can centralize your knight.
Right.
But anyway, here they go. Knight f6, rook b1 has been played. Heading to h1, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen this eval bar creep towards equality a couple times, and then every time Andreikin makes a move to make it go shooting back up. So it shows just how difficult the end game is for black. Like black is getting chances and still not managing to find them because it's just very, very tough.
Fine. I'll mention one idea he might have had in mind there is that if white went through with the knight trade, they lose control over f3, and after h5, you can try rook h1, g4, rook h4 to try and mess with the advance of the white pawns. I think that might have been one thing Andreikin had in mind with the way he played. But Bach just leaves the knights in tension. Like, yeah, he sort of wants to trade them, but he doesn't need to do it, so he doesn't have to bring that pawn to e4.
It's down to 2 minutes, but I feel like that's still plenty of time because, like, honestly, like a couple moves and white might just be promoting here. Game's over. But b4, b3 is coming. Very, very sharp situation. Gotta be accurate here. And he's thinking. I feel like he's trying to calculate it out to the finish, right? He just wants to go boom, boom, h6, h7. Just game over. But it's always hard. There's always rook h1. And the b pawn is going to be moving as well.
Yeah. Okay. He's chosen to trade and push. So now on b3, he can always give a check if he wants that tempo.
Very nice check to have. Yeah. The question is, does black want to play rook h1 now or start with b3?
Yeah, I think maybe start with b3. Definitely if you go rook h1, white's going to be able to play rook b2 on their tempo. So, oh, he does go rook h1. So in this case, after king g7, I think he'll probably play c5, not b3, rook b2. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It feels like king g7, black is trying to go c5, and he's like, all right, I'm just going to give the rook, but my two pawns will race against white's g pawn. Those situations are often not clear, but I feel like you got to go with the single pawn, right? It's faster to push one than to push two, or to push a king along with pawns. So it feels like white should be winning the race. So g4, b3. But okay, one wrong move could send everything upside down.
So c4 here locks the black king away a little bit. So
and the pawns get stuck. Can't push them anymore.
Yeah. So you might almost want to play king c4. I'm not sure how I feel about that king d5 move black played 2 moves ago. Because otherwise the c pawn was stuck. Yeah, it's just a tough position for black.
Yeah, what to do. So if king c4, g5, king c3. Okay, go c4.
C4.
Either way, okay, white just promotes. Now c3, white's just taking the pawn. They're not going anywhere. So king b4, but this is very, very slow.
Yeah, white can take on b3 and queen with check. And
oh, nice. Beautiful.
You've already seen that in advance. So this game is done. Wow.
That's it. Beautiful technique from Bach. Very, very nice. He's only got a minute, but that's got to be enough time here. I'm sure he's got pre-moves turned on. Go queen d4 somewhere. But no, he's just doing the classic technique. Now, okay, there is this this stalemate idea. So it's not going to be super trivial for white.
Yeah, he can actually win the king and pawn ending if he trades his queen on c1. Like if he plays king g7 a move ago. On c1, you take, you bring your king to e5, and it's a win. Let's see what he does.
He's trying to just like win without calculating, so he can like try to take the e pawn, and then somehow force to trade, but doesn't see. He can't get the king to b1. Oh, f4. Oh, okay. So now there's no stalemate. So this is probably winning, but yeah, 20 seconds. Silly.
20 seconds is not much. You're right.
Yeah, there's no increment. So he's going to have to.
E2 would be maybe
clinch it out.
To mess with him.
So got to go king b1. If king b2, white can just take on f2.
And now he's going to go queen d3. Still at 20 seconds, but yeah, it is tricky. One wonders how
king b2,
how certainly he's figured it out. Check, that's good. And then queen f1 next move.
Oh, and then queen f1.
Yeah. Now I would say he's got it. I think he can pretty much pre-move.
Oh, very nice.
F4 was kind of tricky to calculate, though, I would say, for a queen up position.
It's very logical because you're always worried about the stalemate. And so black has to take. Otherwise, it was just lost immediately. But this is very nice. And now he can't play king b2 because white just takes f2. Oh, and there's a resignation.
Wow, we even get a resignation. Those were rare last week. Let me see who else might still be playing in round one. Oh, we've got Fedoseev and we've got Vidit. Let's check out Vidit because Vidit is somebody who needs to make progress on the board and who I haven't seen as many of his games. So,
yeah, he's playing against Alexei Sorokin, who's living in the U.S. now. We've been attending one of the chess colleges, and looks like.
Rook a1 to d1, and then the white rook gets to take e4 and h4.
Yeah, it seems like white has just enough here.
Wait a minute, rook a8. That seems a little bit riskier. But I guess rook h4, king e7, and everything's okay.
King f2.
Looks like they've sort of found equality here. The white king gets itself active. If black ever plays b4, white can queen, and then after rook takes queen, rook takes over here.
Oh, but Sorokin's got 4 seconds, David. Oh, I forgot about the no increment. Oh, Vidit's playing for the flag. And okay, now he might be winning.
Oh, he blunders the f pawn. Should have played rook f2 instead of moving the king. But it's all down to the time now, isn't it?
Yeah. Vidit, he knew, he saw.
That's funny. I was thinking that the game had sort of settled towards a draw. Anyway, I think we caught the major upset of the first round, which was Andreikin losing. A lot of the other favorites like Hikaru and Fedoseev seem to have won. We're going to take a quick break now to share with you a message from the sponsor of the Rapid Chess Championships. we can thank our sponsor not only for an event with a $650,000 prize fund that's attracting many of the top 10 players in the world, we can also thank them for having very succinct commercials, right? I mean, that did not take much time.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate that. Sure, everyone appreciates the short commercial break. Ooh, next round we got Hikaru against Alexander Bortnik, one of the Bortnik brothers. Both are super, super strong in speed chess, and especially online speed chess. But okay, Hikaru's Hikaru. He's fresh off of successful candidates, and now I feel like he and Nepo, they can kind of relax, right? And like, I mean, he's leading this event, but I want to say like now he can really take this event seriously now that he doesn't have to worry about the candidates anymore.
Yeah, it's like finally the candidates is not in the way of my rapid chess preparation.
Yeah, I mean, Hikaru, didn't he play on like one of the rest days in the RCC?
He did play an event on a rest day in the candidates, I think. Yeah, I don't remember if it was RCC or Title Tuesday.
Yeah, it might have been like a Title Tuesday or something. And he's sticking to his main repertoire, just E4, E5, solid stuff.
There is a new feature on chess.com, which I'm not seeing how to activate it right now in here, but there's a new feature. Maybe it's still coming, but you'll be able to click on people's names and see their sort of lifetime scores against each other. Did you see that announcement?
No, but that sounds very cool.
I'd be very curious to see it for these two, right? Because I think they've played each other in Arena Kings, Title Tuesday, RCC. I mean, I think this is the kind of matchup where they might have 1,000 games played against each other as opposed to 10.
That's true. Yeah, no, I would like to see this one. I want to see Hikaru score against Eric Hansen because they've played like 1 million games online. Yeah, that does sound pretty fun.
Yeah, well, Hikaru building a massive time lead in the first 6 moves of this game. Bortnik's going to have to wake up.
Right. I mean, Hikaru, he's been like studying this stuff like every single day at the candidates for the black side. And he's probably just very, very booked up. Whereas, yeah, Bortnik, I feel like he's more just kind of playing on kind of feel. Like he plays B4, now he goes Bishop E3, Knight D2. And still very natural what he's doing, taking space on the queen side, and he's just offering up this trade on E3 to try and open up the F file, which is usually pretty playable structure for white. You get a little king side attack going. In D5, I like this from black here. I think this feels very, very rational.
It looks well timed. I expect bishop takes A7 and then bishop B3 rather than a trade on D5 here. But I imagine it's also possible to play ED5, Knight D5, Queen B3 maybe with the idea of quickly Rook E1, and seeing if you can generate some pressure on E5 in a position where black might not want to play F6.
Right. But D5 here, I should note, it makes sense, especially given that white played B4, because now when you go ED5, Knight D5, C3 pawn is hanging. Oh, but here Hikaru takes a decision I didn't even realize was possible, and sacking the exchange.
And an exchange, the choice. But I don't understand this at all, Kosti, because both options looked good for white. If white just plays Knight C4, Rook A7, Knight E5, what's the problem?
Apparently, I mean, there's apparently something.
It drops a piece. That's the problem. It's not even counting.
Right.
White captures, white would be recapturing a pawn and black would be getting a whole piece extra. So Hikaru's forcing him into this weird exchange sack position. Interesting. Wow.
Rook E1, B5. Hikaru, he just realized, I don't know what he just noticed something in his calculation. And he doesn't seem too concerned. But it's only one pawn for the exchange, not a particularly healthy pawn. I don't know. I don't feel like black really has enough here.
And White's done something really important. I mean, these games go so fast, Kostya. I struggle to keep up with them. But after kicking the queen out, the second thing that White did was open a file for this rook. I mean, the most classic E45 kind of move, right? But also very principled for a position where you're up in exchange, is to give yourself an open file.
Yeah, maybe the most important thing when you're playing up the exchange is making sure your rooks are active, even if that means giving up a pawn, maybe 2 pawns. But here, yeah, it feels like White can just bring the rook back to E1 at some point. Knight F1, Knight G3, Knight E3. Just seems like White has a rook and Black has a bishop. And in most cases, most positions, the rook kind of outplays the bishop because it hits more squares, just a more mobile piece. It's not always better, but here it kind of feels like it is. But we'll see. I mean, Hikaru has just so much experience, you know, these kinds of positions. He probably knows very well, like what kind of compensation pays off and what doesn't. And yeah, somehow I still wouldn't bet against him in this game, you know, even though I feel like White should be better. Okay, looks like we might have lost David, so I'll take over here for a bit. Bortnik playing Knight G5, Queen H6, Rook G3. So now he's playing for some kind of attack here, but it's not clear exactly to me what White is looking for. The card just goes Knight D6 and Knight E3. Okay, E4 is still defended. If F6, he always has Knight E6 check. But still, kind of awkward what White is doing here with this rook on G3. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
The point is, you know, I feel like White's rook should be on A7 and other rook on A1. Okay, G6, Engine hates that move. Every time I see that eval bar, it's like, oh, okay, we have a puzzle now. Yeah, I don't know. It's not obvious to me. It's clearly wasn't obvious to Naka.
Yeah, you would not have noticed if you were just playing the game.
0 chance. And clearly it's not obvious to Bortnik. Well, Rook D6 maybe was obvious to him.
He's taking some kind of decisive action. I don't even know the reason for this move.
What is this? Takes Queen D2? There's something in this position. Okay, D6 is hanging.
How on earth did he spot whatever this is, Kostya, which we don't understand even after he does it?
I mean, there's this queen on H6. But yeah, I'm not quite getting where's the double discovery with these knights. I don't understand. Like normally you get like 2 checks and then okay, you win the queen. But
I mean, by now I'm calculating Rook D8, Knight G4,
F5,
Queen G7, Rook F3, and you threaten F7 and Knight E6.
Okay, that seems pretty brutal. Yeah, Knight F5 doesn't work because maybe Black can take with the knight.
But to visualize that before the sack with the Queen D2 move, how does he do that?
That's pretty impressive. I mean, he did spend his time there. We saw him pause.
Something about, I mean, I think the main thing is most players wouldn't pause there after G6 from Black. Like you wouldn't even consider, if this were maybe in a book, you know, perfect your chess, and you know there's something really, really advanced available to you, maybe then.
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty sick tactic.
That was one of the most impressive moments to stop and think.
But it's not clear, like he thinks he's well, actually here he might be thinking he's close to winning. It's not clear like he thought like, oh, Rook D6, it's like I'm totally winning. Maybe he just thought it's a good chance to give back the exchange. Black did just play this G6, so you have this like weak immediately weak queen.
Yeah,
now he's trying to use these weaknesses here.
I thought he would just play Queen D6 last move, you know, just penetrate. But first he played Knight G4.
Yeah, now this is the type of position Hikaru generally like excels at defending. Like somehow he just finds only moves. He just doesn't lose the game. And then somehow people aren't able to convert.
Right. So knight h6, queen h6, queen f7, king h8. And then what?
I don't know. Just rook f3, just simple.
Simple. I can't follow this at all. Okay. If the queen trades on f6, his knight goes to d7, right?
You take with the knight, go knight d7. Yeah, then hitting the rook and also hitting f7 at the end. So rook f8, just defending this one. Now, yeah, it feels like it's so easy for white to lose control. Like if you allow some h5 somewhere or h6,
yeah,
you don't have a good response and you got to start going backwards. Like the h6 would kind of trap the knight on g5. Okay, queen d6.
Yeah, so he creates this threat here. What an impressive way to play by Bortnik, but I'm also afraid that the complexity level may be more than his 3 minutes are going to be able to handle. We'll see.
Yeah. He's still going to break through here. So h6. f6. You can put a knight on h7.
Yeah, do you want a knight on h7? Can he play knight e6 and then knight h5?
No, knight d7. I think this is more sensible. Just going after the rook. Now, if the rook moves, f7, it falls.
He's going to try to win back that exchange he sacked.
No, but remember, Naka was already down the exchange, so he was giving it back.
Right. Yep. After a
He wants
10-move special tactical operation, he's going to only recover what he had before. But I guess he'll have opened up the position more.
But yeah, now the queen is infiltrated. No, if white gets the exchange here, I think it's going to be really bad for black.
Well, if the rook moved off of f8, rook f7 would have been really, really, really bad.
Ooh, f5. I remember Naka once played this f5 against me in like a really bad position. It was like a 960 game, and he's basically like getting mated, but he plays f5. Like everything is open, and then I couldn't figure it out. But oh man, Bortnik with the fist pump. Big win there. Beautiful finish. Check.
I mean, that's beyond deserving of a fist bump. He played that game so impressively, and he doesn't even settle for pawn takes f5 here, right? Which would maybe give some activity to the bishop on b7 and not bring his rook into the game. Instead, he throws in that repetition with knight f8 so that the rook can infiltrate too, and that's just
now everything falls. 96, rook g5. Yeah, that'll be over on Slash Chess. Exactly.
Oh man. Well, every game every big game we've watched so far today has been a big upset. We've just sort of picked like the only games where the favorites have gone down. So I'm going to Wesley so right now.
Right. This is a bad omen for Wesley.
Yeah. He's like, please don't come watch. His position looks relatively good at the moment, though. I mean, the knights on e4 and d4 look powerful.
Yeah, and he's going up against Subramaniam here from India, who I have to confess I haven't heard of, but like 2560, got to be a strong player. And let's see, so far holding his own, because it's like weird position. Black has this weakness on e6, but his bishop on b7 is very strong, right? That's got to be the best minor piece on the board. And but now rook d3, and Wesley's starting to lift some pieces over to the king side.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to look up Bharat because I saw him play last week as well and was like, this player who I haven't really heard of is looking pretty strong. And guess what, Kostya? He's 14 years old.
14.
Dang.
He's just waiting. And he might be India's 12th most promising junior. So waiting in the wings.
waiting
for
in
his
the wings.
chance.
So
Yeah, I just saw, Gukesh is close to 2,700 now.
yeah, I've been
The,
watching.
the FIDE, I mean, this is not like online ratings, like FIDE ratings, close to 27. Insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Do
crazy.
you know much about Gukesh? Is this true that he's like basically trained with humans instead of computers?
I've heard that rumor about him. One anecdote I can tell is that you saw Christopher Yu play last week, who's been doing great in these RCC events. So he and Christopher Yu were like the undisputed top 2 seeds at the I believe it was the World Cadet Tournament a couple of years ago. And I was on the US coaching team. I was working with Christopher Yu, and I think he was like the number 2 seed, and Gukesh was number 1 at already a rating of 2450 at 12 years old, so higher than me at 12. And it was clear that Gukesh was just like, I think he ended up winning the gold, but yeah, he was just like already such a mature player at that point that yeah, of course it was not surprising to see him becoming a super strong GM.
Every
And
move I
just free
think of for Barath here
Mhm.
hangs a piece to one of those knights. Like every idea I get,
Yeah, you got to watch out for knight at 5 here, knight g5.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's weird. It looks like white's position is kind of loose. Like everything's hanging on the 4th rank. The knights, the c pawn. But somehow Wesley's holding together. Okay, queen h4, very active move. That's very annoying for white to see.
Yeah. Pressuring e4. And if you take on e6, I was going to say.
Did he actually take on e6?
He did just take on e6. If black trades on d3, he's got mate on g7. If black takes on e4, he's hoping to be able to take on d7. But if black takes with the queen on e4, then queen takes, bishop takes, rook d7, and the knight on e6 is hanging, and black's ahead, right? Subramaniam does something else, but I wonder if queen e4 wasn't just winning.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I feel like I wasn't getting there. But okay, black only has 1 minute, so this is really hard. There's still so many pieces on the board.
Well, I think his plan was to maybe go bishop g2. That might have been something he was looking at here. He still can't go rook d3 because of checkmate. So he's thinking like rook takes d7. Maybe he's planning to sack on g2.
That looks like mate, right?
The queen stops the checkmate on.
Oh, there's no mate on h2.
On h2, so he might have to go queen f2, queen f3, queen f2, queen f3.
Perpetual. Ah, very nice. Dang, Wesley pretty much looks like he had no choice there. I mean, his king was just too weak, so he might have, yeah, had to allow something.
Yeah.
And now, could he have thought about king h2 there? I think there's like no upside whatsoever. Either get mated or black as a perpetual either.
Probably. Yeah, I think so, because if you come up to h3 at this point, like at minimum, even if rook h3 doesn't end the game, like at minimum on this kind of move, you're coming back and hanging the knight, right? So what's the upside? Oh, it's that you would still be up in exchange.
But you're still up a rook here, but yeah, rook f3
the
is
only
probably.
problem would be rook f3.
Only problem is that you just get mated immediately. But other than that, it would have been a good try.
Other than mate. Okay, so we get a draw. I don't know if that counts as a full upset. I don't know if we hurt Wesley there.
David, listen to yourself. If you forget the first 2 games we saw, if this 14-year-old Indian kid draws with Wesley So is black, is that an upset or not?
Yeah. You would think it would still be a mild upset, maybe, but okay. We've got Dubov here against Bach. And Bach already knocked out Fair Chess on YouTube, and now he's up against the winner from last week's top 8. And yeah, looks like he got white again, so that's handy for Benjamin. Queen g4 looks like it'll stop the counterplay against h3, and Benjamin Bach finds queen g4.
Ooh, g4 did not look.
Huh?
Oh, draw. Oh, because he's down to 15 seconds.
I guess the 15 seconds weren't enough.
Interesting. But who is giving a draw to who there? Because I remember Dubov
Dubov.
talking with you guys last week saying that he's playing on a trackpad and that
Yeah.
if he gets down to 20 seconds, doesn't matter how much time his opponent has, he's busted. So that was
Right.
so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like Benjamin with the mouse might have been able to to
To
big move
flag
his way
him 15 against 40.
I feel like in that end game, yeah. But
Yeah.
okay, fair result there. Definitely no questioning of the morals from either player.
I was going to say, was Benjamin aware of that? Yes, he was. Benjamin did the interview with Daniil. He's very aware. All right, who's got 10 seconds here?
Rick
14 seconds each. Pravian technically winning here. Technically winning. Plays king e6.
F6 now. Just push the F pawn.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he blew it. He blew it.
The chess part of it has been blown.
But
Why
he's
not
still
just play good moves and win the position? Okay.
All right. Okay, but they just have no time. They just got to move fast.
Gives the check and gets the queen.
Oh, but Black's playing for the flag.
Yeah.
Got some extra time. Oh, but he's got the ladder. Oh,
these are pre-moves.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Finishes with 2.5 seconds.
Yeah. Now, the reason I clicked on that game partly was because David Paravian, or Dropstone DP, is in the top 12, so I feel like it's good to have a look at him now and then, even though his name in classical chess is not as famous as some of these other players. But, he is in the top 12 season standings for the Grand Chess
he's
Tour.
super strong. Super strong. Not just in online chess, even in classical as well. He's quite a force.
Yeah. So he's up there with 39 GP points, tied with Alexei Sarana, who's also playing today. That concludes round 2. And let's see, we are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 players on 2 out of 2. And who do you want to watch this round, Ghost? Yeah.
So let's see. We have Fedoseev, Bortnik, and let me see if I can find some of the other games here.
Yeah, well, I can just give you a list of players. You can tell me if you've got a favorite. We've got Nodirbek Abdusadarov on 2 out of 2, who we haven't watched yet.
Okay. Yeah, let's watch Nodirbek.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, kid's a beast.
Let's do it. Playing white against Shamsidin Vokidov, a country mate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Vokidov made it into the top 8 last week.
Right.
And Nodirbek did not.
Yeah. So two of the Uzbek juniors, super strong. Norderbek, the reigning world rapid champion, which is incredible. And it looks like they've got Marazzi bind here. White takes on c6. Usually that's not a great exchange for white in these structures, because Black can, for example, take with the b pawn. But I guess he wants to play maybe c4, c5, and kind of ruin Black's structure. Or maybe he's thinking about taking the a pawn. So bishop takes c6. And
I remember it was on my first visit to Russia that a Russian grandmaster played c5 against me in the Marazzi bind for the first time. Just absolutely ran over me in that game. And until that point, I'd never considered that white might want to play c5. I thought they were just trying to sit with their c4 and e4 pawns, and keep me from doing anything. And yeah, this guy opened up sort of a whole new world to me, right? Little Mermaid style, played c5 and opened up the queen side and ran over me.
Yeah. Russian grandmasters have really taught us a lot about chess over the years.
Exactly.
So b3, straight out of this kind of like, calm positional style you're supposed to use when playing the Marazzi. Now Black goes e6, That feels like a controversial move because you're weakening the deep one. But I think generally in these structures, you can kind of get away with it because you're playing queen e7, rook d8. It's going to take white some time to put up any real pressure on the deep one. So I feel like black is, yeah, very much okay here.
You don't think it really commits black to pushing through d5 in the next move or two? You think it's possible to just hold the position still?
Yeah, I think you can just play the structure like queen e7, knight d7, like this. D5 definitely an idea, but yeah, you always have to watch out for like CD, ED, and E5, and right, it doesn't always solve the structural difficulties.
Yeah. Now, having played e6, I'd be even less willing to play knight d7 and trade my dark squared bishop. I'd be worried that my dark squares are going to end up really bad as black there.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, generally, like Accelerated Dragon, black is kind of looking to trade these bishops, but yeah, there's always exceptions. So you never know. But yeah, my feeling is like you kind of want to leave white with this bad light square bishop. So if we could like just trade bishops and then play e5 as black, that would be ideal. But
yeah,
on knight d7, I don't know. White could, well, here actually white can't really avoid the trade because the knight on c3 is hanging.
Yep.
So definitely possible. But maybe no need for black yet. Okay, he goes knight h5 this way.
Interesting. So I think it could still go with your e5 move and knight f4.
Right. Or possibly he wants to swing the queen over to g5. So we see queen e3, kind of preventing this. Now queen c5 anyway.
Yeah.
For the queen trade.
Yeah, it feels like if you take that as white, you do not have a very good game.
Yeah, you can end up worse very easily.
Probably have to play e5 right away and then like bishop e4. But okay, he backs off and Volkanov looks pretty comfortable so far in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. But Noterbeck, I feel like he doesn't need an advantage to win the game. Like he's happy to just play like an equal end game and just find something eventually. Just try to blitz his opponents out, or just find some advantage somewhere and then convert.
But yeah, I mean, this is the chess.com Rapid Chess Championships, and this is the World Rapid Champion we're watching right now. So
yeah, so
this is his format. He's the champ.
Yeah. Now black could go knight g3 here, but I think that move would mainly be for fun. Would not lead to much. Like bishop f3. So yeah, just knight f6. I think that's more sensible. And he hasn't gone e5.
Yeah, he's held off on it. Could have done it for a while.
Yeah, so he goes queen e5. Yes, he says, okay, no e5. Because then, okay, it does allow knight d5 for white and gives white some room. But this queen on e5 is brilliant.
Yeah, knight d5 might have been coming for white in this kind of position. Oh, anyway. Right? ED, CD.
For sure.
That is the thing. Anytime your queen's on the C file, that's like one of the more famous hedgehog structure ideas.
Yeah. So queen here, now b4. So immediately takes the opportunity to go. Say bishop takes e4. Can black get away with this? Rook e1. He wants d5. Most likely. You can also trade first on e4, but then knight e4 comes in with tempo.
I think he will go with knight e4 though, because he'll have lasting compensation from the bishop that finally doesn't have the e4 pawn making a bad all game.
Yeah. So you could take and go maybe queen e3. It does take. Is there another move here? Queen D4.
Oh, this way there's maybe not time to defend the knight, right? Because on Queen E3, there would be D5 trying to hold the position and keep the bishop blocked out. But now
He gets a tempo because he gets to bring his rook to D4.
yeah. So
yeah, very clever. Going into like he just gave up a pawn and now he's like forcing an endgame. And it's not even like a forcing move. Like he trades queens and then does something. He just offers the trade, but it's still really strong.
Yeah, you don't really expect a move like Queen D4 right there. Okay, F5, really trying to keep this bishop out.
Wow, and offering triple pawns. White could have taken on E5 there and taken on E4.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, can't imagine White can really ever be worse here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you use one pawn to outpost the other rook, defend the other pawn. I don't know. Not a lot of experience playing that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't in 100 endgames, you must know.
That's in the 10 million edition, right? And 10 million endgames you might want to know.
Yeah, every endgame you could know. All right, rook D7, rook E1. So he's putting pressure. C8. I mean, I feel like black is still pretty much fine.
Yeah, I think black's very comfortable because it feels like it's more like white who has something to prove, right? I mean, yes, there's some compensation, but ultimately black is up that pawn. It's already in the bank.
Yeah. Yeah, now bishop D1. This is definitely I've got something to prove move because he wants F3, he wants bishop A4. But yeah, very loose now. Rook on C1 is hanging. Black points that out. Bishop A4.
So bishop A4 can still be played.
Yeah, that seems logical. And I'm not sure if that was exactly the plan with Queen B2.
Yeah, I think another threat from black here, in addition to Queen C1, was Rook C6. Because the queen's covering the B pawn, and you can completely lose control of the game if you drop the B pawn for white. So
absolutely.
Bishop A4 stops Rook C6. Now the C pawn's under pressure. Yeah, Rook C2 kick into queen. That should take her out of here.
Yeah. So Queen F6.
Yeah.
Wonderbeck, yeah, he's trying to figure out what to do. I feel like he would like to play, you know, C5. He goes F3. So kicks the knight. Now I feel like knight G3 is active, but knight G5 might be more sensible.
Yeah. And now D6 is hanging, but E6 is semi-protected. I say semi because, you know, the knight always is not at all stable.
Yeah.
Bishop
B3. So he's showing why he didn't want to take on D6. It's probably didn't like rook takes C4. Then black gets to activate the rooks.
Yep. Black activates the rook.
Check.
D4 starts hanging. There's Queen D4 check, like you say. So he says, my pawn, it may or may not be better than these pawns, but it's keeping the rooks out for the moment. Volkanov insists that the rooks must live.
I mean, it could be really strong if white pushes C5 here, then black gets a lot of pawns moving. Not sure if white has a big choice. Like, what else can they do? Because everything's hanging on the C file. Like,
white has H4 as an important move.
Could throw H4. And then H4, even on rook C6, you can take on G5. Kind of nice.
And H4 pawn takes C4. You can also take on G5 because of rook C7, maybe. It'll be controversial, perhaps, but yeah, this is a controversial moment.
H4 can also just take on F3, take on H4 here. Just grab a bunch of pawns, but he goes knight F7.
Power move from Volkanov. Yeah, saving that 1 minute right there.
Nice. So rook E6, he wants queen takes H4. Or maybe queen A1 check, and then DC.
E5.
E5. Oh, wait, but now there's
Locking her
queen
into the queen
D4.
side.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's that?
There's queen D4 now. It's
Yeah.
kind of annoying.
There is.
E7.
So overprotecting E6, which to my mind, the dream for black is to keep this queen from getting back into the game. Right? So I love Volkodov's approach. Over the last couple moves, I feel like he's played some extremely practical moves that are giving white really good chances to lose the game.
He's played great. He's just playing like,
look at these queens.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is game over. You take on B4, take on H4. Oh boy.
Maybe he'll prioritize taking on H4 because the knight wants to come back to G5 and just keep white out. Oh no, there's bishop D5. That's the move to watch out for, Kostya, on queen B4 or H4. That's what you have to calculate.
So he sees this coming. He's found something. Maybe just rook C5 or queen C5 also.
Yeah.
But you don't really want to allow white to escape into some endgame with like a bishop against knight. Then it feels like white gets way too much.
And you've traded several pawns, right? 2 pawns for 2 pawns, B4 and C5 for D5 and E6. And I would say that Noterbeck's drawing chances have appeared just now.
Yeah. Oh man. Dang. Oh, Volkodov, I feel like it was, I mean, he'd still win this, but now it feels much farther away.
Yeah.
6, bishop E3. And now, yeah, positions become much easier for white. Doesn't have to worry about the king. Just has to make sure not to lose a second pawn.
I hate that A4 move, though, I have to say, Kostya.
I didn't quite get it either.
My feeling would be like rook E6, maybe H5, and definitely like king E2, king D3.
Yeah, he must have been worried like about knight B5, I guess. That's kind of only explanation, but
I like the anchored bishop.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Maybe like rook E6, knight B5, rook B6, and then some mix of centralizing your king, or maybe playing H5, or just holding the line and not doing much. So A4, the bishop gets disrupted. Now he goes for rook E6, and he gets the pawn to A5, which, yeah, I can feel how that might be desirable.
Okay, yeah. To be fair, I feel like now his situation's kind of improved, but at the same time, this A pawn is always going to be vulnerable. And if black wins that one, it's just could be easy endgame one from there. But bishop C4, of course, he's not going to make it easy. And yeah, he's got H5 coming. This B7 pawn's always hanging. Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see.
Oh shoot, they moved really fast.
Oh,
and
a lot of
it.
moves.
Let me update it. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so black's technically still got this extra pawn. It's just very far from being able to move.
Right.
Now white goes after it. It looks like the draw is quite likely here. Neither of them is down to 10 seconds. So there will be no more.
Yeah, but it seems like even if white picks up this pawn on B7, all the pawns on one side of the board, really only black here
this game
can be better. Oh, hi David. Sorry, you were gone for a sec.
Yeah.
H5 now. I think black is he's still poking.
Mm-hmm.
He's still thinking about getting this F4 pawn. I feel like white has to be very precise. It could absolutely still lose this. King H5.
Still be done. Could still be done. There goes the F pawn.
Yep, there's one. Bishop C4. Now rook endgame here, I think would be drawn, but of course, as the time ticks down, both sides get more winning chances on the clock. Knight F6. Ooh, I like how black, it just, everything is going to like a perfect square right now. I love how he's just rearranging all the pieces.
But notice how fast No Dirbeck is playing now, right?
Yeah.
He's not hesitating and letting himself get into that range where you just kind of will flag regardless of how well you defend.
Right. Yeah, both players have gone into bullet mode here, which means, yeah, you're not checking for tactics every single move, just kind of moving quickly and making sure you're not blundering, and that's it. Not looking for the best move, right? Just looking to hold the line.
Yeah.
No Dirbeck, look at that focus. So fast. Yeah. D4. Okay, Rook D2 check could be a problem.
Three.
You need 3. Oh, but Rook G2. Oh, he blundered.
What a tricky move. If King F3, he can take on C2.
Oh, King F3, Rook C2. He had to go like King E1 there. Uh-oh. And now he paused, right? It's like these players, it feels like they feel the eval bar in the back of their mind. They just know like, oh, I messed up. I got to, oh, I have something. I got to stop and think.
Yeah, it's amazing how they spring on it.
That's it. Just like that. And no defense. He's getting the second pawn. He's up 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah. More or less.
He's winning this.
Deal. Trying to.
What's going on here?
Chase this rook forever.
You can't go F4. Did you just find like a study like defense with 30 seconds on his clock?
But you've got this F4 move for black, right? What's he going to do about that?
Well, F4 might be Rook C6. Lose the G pawn.
Oh my goodness. That's unbelievable.
Amazing. 2 seconds ago, he was losing.
Oh, he's trying it though anyway. He's trying it.
Well, yeah. No losing chances, but insane the accuracy these players have with such little time.
Yeah, this is unreal. Will he?
Now, this is still dangerous.
Will he try to flag? He will try.
Oh, yeah. He's clearly playing for the flag because he's got the knight chances. Even though he's down a couple seconds, he's got the knight. Right. Wonder if that makes up for it. Oh, we're Rook E4. So fast. So fast. Unbelievable.
No Dirbeck saves a game that 999,999 out of a million people would have lost.
Still don't understand how he did that. Incredible.
Oh my goodness. Well, folks, the breaks have been very few, short and far between, but we're going to throw it to a really short break here. You have seen the first 1/3 of the Saturday Swiss of the Rapid Chess Championships presented by Coinbase. We'll see you again in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody, to the Rapid Chess Championships on chess.com, presented by Coinbase. We wanted to let you know about the most important upcoming event in the chess calendar this year after the candidates. It is the 45th Chess Olympiad. It's coming to Chennai, India. It's the biggest team event in chess with more than 100 countries competing for gold. Catch some of the biggest names in chess competition as they compete for their countries, including the biggest name in chess, Magnus Carlsen, returning to represent Norway for the first time in several years. The coverage will begin at, ready for this, goes to 2:30 a.m. Pacific time from July 28th through August 9th, right here on chess.com.
Oh man, Chess Olympiad. You're gonna be hot. It's gonna be
not
great.
The friendliest time for you and me.
Yeah, I got to decide whether I'll be waking up early or staying up late. Maybe both. Oh man.
But do you sometimes flip your schedule like that and just sort of move into another time zone for a couple weeks if there's a chess event you love?
I used to. I did that for the first World Championship match between Magnus and Anand. I just wake up or stay up till 3 a.m. every day and watch the games till 6 a.m. Then get some sleep and start my day at like 3 or 4.
Yeah. The benefits of not having a 9 to 5 as a chess player. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because it can also mess with you to be up at night and trying to.
It has since long caught up with me those days. Yeah. Can't handle it anymore. Look at this. We got the black lion on the board. H6, G5.
Yeah. Which I consider a terrible opening. So from my perspective, Bortnik's throwing a little bit of disrespect to Grandmaster Nitzan Steinberg of Israel, who is playing in their first Rapid Chess Championship event, as far as I could tell. I couldn't find them anywhere on the leaderboard for the season, and they are on 3 out of 3.
Wow!
Here. Yeah,
great first event.
Great start. So Bortnik has to make sure that Steinberg doesn't think that this event is too easy.
Man, now this is interesting what's going on. So a6, b5, but I think the issue here for black is that when white pulls the bishop away, this b pawn is still going to be hanging. So Bortnik might be looking to play b4 on his next move.
Trying to fend these pieces off and eventually close things down with c5. If the tempi can all work out.
92.
Or could it be a moment to go CD, ED, E4 and strike on the most improbable file on the board for black?
I mean, there's always bishop b5 check, but yeah, I would say 0 chance.
0 chance.
Of that. Yeah. Now, yeah, I would expect, like c5, but c5, you're still kind of stuck with this a pawn. White can go c3 or c4, probably c4. And these light squares are always going to be a problem. There's bishop b5 check as well, and then knight g3, knight f5 if you ever trade off the light squared bishop. I don't know.
Well, we've seen nothing but upsets so far, even though the upsets have been very rare, but they happen to be the games we've watched so far today. So maybe Steinberg will knock out another one of the most successful, chess.com competitors.
Yeah. I mean, we just saw Bortnik take out Hikaru. We can see Steinberg here. He's kind of a fresh face for me. Like relatively young guy, but not that young.
Yeah, 24 years old from Israel, and looks like quite a serious chess player from the way he's looking at his monitor right now.
This is definitely not his first online event. That's clear. Yeah, knight f4. Now I think the last thing he wants to do is take this knight and allow g takes f4 towards his king.
So knight g3 is one move that's kind of in the general plans for white, sort of controlling light squares on the king side, protecting the e4 more. But is this the moment to take on c6 and try and open the center a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you have to do that as white. Your king is castle, black's king is not. So you gotta argue that the center being open is to your favor, especially since black has played this h6 g5. I mean, it's yeah, really risky what black is doing. Just leaving the king in the center, but yeah, you can kind of see his point, right? The pawns are nicely defending d6, e5. King can sit on f8. So, but yeah, somehow I feel like if I can just play c3 and just open up the c file one day, it's got to be good.
Right. So, question for white here is, again, if there's like any world in which white needs to defend the e pawn, because if you don't need to defend the e pawn, the moves you probably want to play are c3, like you mentioned, and bishop e3, just for the sake of, you know, if all your pieces are developed, good things are more likely to happen for you.
Yeah. Though I would worry that bishop e3 might be undefending the pawn, because right now if black takes, we have bishop e4 and knight f4, for example.
Right. With bishop e3, there's some chance it might allow knight e4, and if that's the case, you might see white play knight g3 or something here, cleaning up the position before going c3.
Yeah, so there's knight g3 in castles. Surprising.
Yeah.
He accepts
that there is no attack in the Black Lion. Anybody who bought a course on the Black Lion or a book on the Black Lion, time to apply for a refund.
Brutal. No, I feel like he's just slowing down. I think he just wants king h7, rook g8, and then it's back to the Black Lion. He wants the king on h7.
I say to him, good luck. Good luck.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Yeah, still, I feel like, I don't know. I don't think I would bet against Bornik in this game.
Okay. Well, I would. I expect Nitsan to do well this game, although I see he's down 2 minutes on the clock, but Bornik's preparing to pressure the c2 pawn here.
Yeah, but bishop d2. Yeah, just asking a question about this b pawn.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see a simple rook a b8.
I think he's also preparing an answer to rook c8 of c3.
Yeah.
But if I had a lot of time for white, Coasty, what I would love to do is play knight h2 to g4. It's an old Rui Lopez plan.
For sure.
And I feel like black's weak light squares on the king side make it even better than normal.
Yeah, knight h2, I guess you might have to meet h5 with something.
h5. Yes, please h5. I will maybe trade on f4 and play knight takes h5.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh, he goes straight in. No more preparation.
Just jumps in.
On knight e4, you know, because the center pawn is hanging here. He's got very strong knight takes e7.
Yeah. Takes. Now black has the center at the cost of the light squared bishops. This often happens in like the Najdorf that you get this kind of change.
I thought you were just going to say at the cost of the light squares, period. Like there's no light square on the board that black controls. This king's got to get off g8 soon.
Well, that's the thing. If black could get like d5, e4, he starts taking some space, but it's very hard to achieve. E5 is hanging.
Yeah,
it just plays on the c file, rook c1. Now looking for c3.
White is like a spring, right? Compact, loaded. All these long range pieces coiled up here.
Right. Queen d7. Okay, going after the pawn. Asking if white wants to go g4, which I wouldn't.
No.
Not here.
No. White probably rather play g3 here.
g3, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and then the bishop can maybe come out. Very interesting position, gotta say. Not simple to play this. Knight d5. Now he has bishop d3 if he wants. It's kind of logical, you know.
Yeah. And how does black challenge this further. Maybe,
Yeah, I'd keep the line going.
maybe knight c7, preparing but still it's hard to play d5. E4 as a pawn sack, Kostya, and then queen f5.
E4, maybe. Yeah, I feel like he doesn't want to give up his center.
Right.
Just drops back. Bortnick explaining stuff to his chat. It's like, yeah, I could play normal openings, but that's not fun. This is fun. Get all the dark squares.
I don't know. You could just play normal Rui Lopez as black and you'd have a better position than this.
Yeah, but you have to work so hard to try and get anything there. Here, you know, he's taking the draw out of the equation, basically.
Yeah. All right, h4. Yummy move. The G pawn advances, but as I would say, it's white who wants black to advance that pawn. And Nitsan tries to open up space on the king side with f3. Controversial move.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is always very double-edged because now white's opening up their own king. I feel like bishop g5 is also something maybe.
That's what I had expected. That's what I had expected was bishop g5, sort of untangling a little bit, opening up the queens, look at d5 and d6, giving you some more tactical resources to capture the knight when needed. So f3 is a little bit of a surprise to me. It gets captured. Queen comes out, bishop g7, covering the king.
Now what, king h1 maybe, rook g1, g4. Yeah. Feels like now white's decided he's playing on the king side.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, what do you mean? What's all this about?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like g4 would be consistent with white's moves so far, just even immediately.
Just rook d1, just quickly. I feel like he's like, okay, I don't know. Something he didn't like about g4. Just gets the rook off of the c file. Now Bortnick's got 2 minutes. But yeah, position is rough because the h pawn is always hanging. Knights are like dangling. E4.
Yeah, it's like the only move black has to play at some point. I feel like it's like the only move I've been looking at for black every turn.
Yeah. So now, rook e4, you can go like rook takes c2. But what does he want on queen takes e4? Just knight f6. Wow, what a pawn sack.
T5.
Now the position is just kind of loose. White's king is a little bit open. And queen b5. Wait, he's blundered something. Look at him. He just grabbed his head.
Oh, yeah.
He just hang. What happened? What is he complaining about? What's going on here?
Very upset.
You hang d6? He either hung something or like he missed something really good, but I don't feel like he missed anything. You know, bishop f4, maybe. Is that the move you didn't like? Still trade and take on c2.
Yeah, I don't yet see.
He was very upset about something. I have no idea what it was. Absolutely no idea.
Yeah. I mean, if you didn't see him, you wouldn't know because it looks like good moves are coming out quickly from his mouse.
You think this is very good what's happened for black. I mean, he has more than 2 minutes now. His position is no longer bad. Feels like it's pretty good chances for Bortnick. Lots of pieces on the board. Like at this point, I feel like he's just, you know, he's got the flag in his mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, rook d2, he can either trade it and bring the next rook to c2, or on rook d2, he could just move the knight, attacking b2 with the bishop. Okay, we get bishop g5.
Yeah, he's like still upset with himself. Knight h7, rook d8. Now he's totally winning. I mean, this b pawn's falling.
Yeah, just bishop b2 probably. Make some more room for the king. And okay, checks first. Has he recovered from being upset at himself yet?
No, I feel like until he wins, he's not going to be, until he wins this game and then the rest of the games. And then tomorrow, he's not going to forgive himself for whatever 0.2 he lost.
Right.
Oh, there's Bishop F2 now also. Kind of annoying. Then Ricky A check. Yeah. Do you take B2 right now, right? Or do you think about taking G3? It takes B2.
No. I mean, I would have taken it with the bishop only because I could get out of the way of my own B pawn with bishop D4 check.
Right.
You know, the move before. But to me, this kind of position, it's just 100% about the passed B pawn. You know, it reminds me of those like Benoni positions where black has like survived and then suddenly they sort of win an end game because of the B pawn.
It is better. Yeah, no, I like this very much how he's played it, because now the bishop C3 dominates 9 on F3, just can't get anywhere. And he's put his rook behind the A pawn here. So he's kind of anticipating rook A7, B3, rook B7, B2.
Yeah. And now you're threatening rook A1 and B1. And if the king ever
came take on A7 here. Push. Yeah, easy.
Okay.
Easy. His pawn's defended. White's isn't.
Yeah.
GG.
But no fist bump this time. I don't think he still seems like upset. Like, like how could I have won this game so not well?
Well, he should have won it out of the opening, of course, but he'll take the end game win. And he moves to 4 out of 4, the first player to do so.
Yeah. Let's check our buddy Benjamin. He's up against Shamsidin Vokadov.
Ooh, this looks great for black. It was rook on D2.
Yeah. This also looks like there's been a pawn sack. So Bach showing another angle here, giving us a different look, playing actively here with the pawn sack. And the E5 pawn is defended by the knight. So there's no queen E8 to E5 kind of shenanigans. Is there anything stopping him from going queen G3? Maybe
queen G3 is the obvious move. Defense. He's only got 45 seconds here. There's knight H6 check.
And then king H6, king G7, queen F7, king H6. I think white only move I really see rook F2.
No, it looks like there might be a perpetual there after queen F8.
Okay, takes here, queen F8, and if king H5, queen H8. So yeah, that would be a draw.
So he's got this draw in hand now, which it feels like he's got to take. Knight F2, knight E3.
Yeah, I do not advocate knight F2 here. And then knight E3. I do think that rook F2 might be enough to hold the line as well. Like rook F2, rook D1, rook F1.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to take the draw here. Which seems like the practical decision.
So both of these players remain undefeated so far. They're in good shape in the tournament with 3 out of 4 at this point. Let's check in on Wesley So, who's playing strong Russian Grandmaster Sanan Sugirov, who I think in classical chess is approaching 2,700 for the first time. Oh, the rook sack on E5 to try and queen the pawn. But Wesley's queening even better.
Yeah, his pawn is untouchable. Oh man, like this knight on H5. Terrible. White's too good.
Terrible knight. Wesley moves into the leading group as well at this point with 3 out of 4, which is also Hikaru's score at this point.
That means Bortnick here is the clear leader after the round. Is that right? 4 out of 4?
Yeah, we've got only 1 player on 4 out of 4 and 2 players on 3.5, which are Paravian and Nodirbeck.
Right. So next round he'll be playing, looks like Dropstone most likely, or possibly one of the other 2 players on 3.5. But yeah, lots of players still in the hunt here. We got Dubov, Hikaru, Eric Hansen, Wesley So. Everyone's still in contention.
Yeah. I
Yeah, it
think
looks like the next round will be starting soon.
yeah, is that the last game? That's the last game. All right. I was tricked by a flag that looked like a chessboard there. All right. So round 4 in the books, almost halfway there. Looking at the standings right now, you need to be on 3 out of 4 to be in the top 10 in this tournament, and only 8 will advance to tomorrow's 8-player KO. That is the real prize here today, is getting into tomorrow's KO. So the goal for all the players is to be in the top 8.
Yeah, so I'm still going to be a big fight for those spots. No one guaranteed qualification just yet. But Bortnick, I mean, he's already taken out Hikaru, right? So who can he be afraid of at this point?
Well, it's a tournament full of monsters, and he's got several of them left to play, probably starting with Nodierbeck. This round would be my prediction of his next pairing, but he's got Nodierbeck, Paravian, Dubov, Wesley, and Benjamin Bach all to contend with. So we'll see. We'll see if he can move forward, forgive himself for whatever he did last game.
Right. Yeah. So he's got white here against Nodierbeck. His clock is running. He's not ready. Probably taking a short break here, and there we go. We see E4 from Bortnick. All right. What are we gonna get here? Maybe E4, E5. Where are we gonna get the Sicilian? And Nodierbeck saying he can also not start the game.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to run down 13 seconds? I see your 13 seconds.
I raise
match
you 30 seconds.
Yeah. Raise you 30 seconds. Oh boy.
Well, there's heavy psychological warfare at the top levels here. Heavy.
Yeah, he better come up with a amazing move with the time he's spending. It better be like some G5 or some B6. Better be real creative.
All right. Well, while he's thinking about it, I'm going to check out Dubov playing the Catalan. Yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
No intention.
Dubov's specialty. Of course, he was on Team Magnus for the latest World Championship match, and we saw Magnus play a lot of Catalans there.
Yep. And you see no intention of recovering this pawn on C4. His knight is on C3. In traditional Catalans, people play, Queen C2, Knight D2, try to recover that pawn. Dubov,
he just doesn't see the pawn. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
not worth it for him.
Just trying to take over the center. He complained last week that he had not been able to get a trademark for the Catalan. That unfortunately, everybody plays it, everybody's good at it, so he couldn't get a trademark on it. And I wanted to ask him what he thought of the fact that the word "the" had just been trademarked by somebody in the United States, and he can't even get the Catalan.
Maybe he can share it with Kramnik. I feel like they've been pretty influential. Oh, and there he is. There's Dubov himself. Now playing Knight D2. And he's going up against Steinberg, so just lost that tough game to Bortnick. And now he's got black against Dubov. So there's no breaks in this tournament.
No, not unless you get all the way down to last place and maybe get a full point buy, which I don't think anyone's aiming for here.
So B6, he's giving up the C4 pawn and looking for bishop A6. But kind of feels like if I can just take this pawn and even go B3, he kind of just got everything that he wanted.
Yeah, I agree. And it won't be like this terrible Billie Eilish song that I keep hearing on the radio. I think Dubov will be quite happy after getting everything he wants in this particular position.
Yeah, not sure what song that was, but everything you said made sense after that.
Yeah, it's a song about I got everything. I had a dream. I got everything I wanted, and then it wasn't that good.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, now Dubov, he's thinking. Apparently, it's not ideal for him to just take this pawn. There's clearly something he's concerned with.
Maybe he really didn't want the pawn. He was like, I was just faking. I was just faking. I wanted the center. Why did I attack this pawn?
Yeah, I just thought black would play knight b6, and then I can go queen e2. But
yeah.
Okay, b6.
Finally, he's like, well, what else can I do with my stupid knight on d2 other than take this pawn now?
Okay, now bishop b4. So this, I mean, this is what black has to do, right? It's like white, they've given up the center. White has the pawns, but they can at least put pressure and put all their pieces on good squares. Rook to c8, queen e7, and get ready to try and maybe one day break with, c5 seems very hard to achieve because of d5 also, but black should be trying for something, maybe some b5 somewhere.
Right.
In fact, if rook c1, maybe there's some tricks with b5.
b5. But then you could play a takes b5. No?
Yeah. And cb.
And then knight d6.
d6.
Oh, he's done something else. Knight e2.
I feel like he was worried about, or maybe like bishop takes c3 first, rook takes c3, and then b5, because there is some b5, b4 in the position that maybe.
Oh, now you want to do something evil. When the knight moves, you want b4.
Yeah, I mean, okay, eval bar is not impressed, but I don't know. That's what would bother me if I was playing this position.
Yeah, I think Dubov would do something like knight d6.
Yeah, give
or
the
rook
exchange.
c6.
Yeah, never really worried about this, right?
And say like, sure, I think one of your rooks has a great chance of being better than my knight on d6. But he's played knight e2, which partly blocks this diagonal, and maybe he's looking to play knight d6 as soon as he can even.
Still got knight d6. Yeah.
I thought rook c1 looked really good, so I was a little bit surprised even that was a moment where he stopped and thought about what he wanted to do. And maybe this would have been the response anyway, actually, now that we see this bishop c4 and e5. Yeah, with the rook on c1, you could have done the exact same thing. True. And this is like a classic Slav kind of idea, right? This e5.
Very nicely played by black. Yeah, I mean, he gave up the two bishops, but he's getting all the dark squares. Probably he takes d4 here, and he's got squares for all his pieces. Bishop c5, knight e5. Oh, knight g4. He wants more.
Yeah.
Wow. Bishop c1. Can he even go c5 here? That'd be too much.
Dubov is kind of committed to his bishop pair here.
Right.
So he's definitely going to tuck them as far away as he needs to keep them in the game.
Yeah, so takes. He's not taking back because knight d4, bishop c3 might be a problem. And he also has queen takes d4 as a possibility. Queen d4, bishop b2, threat or mates. Get knight d4. Black just goes knight e5. And black is just playing quickly. I was thinking on all these moves, black has like some options, but
yeah,
just going fast.
Knight on g4 was attacked, so partly covering that. White's knight has f5 available. I mean, an amazing square. Dubov leaves the c pawn hanging, perhaps with some idea of like knight c4, queen g4, knight b2, knight f5. Something in that direction might be his thinking. The position's concrete, like black needs to continue to find good moves.
Yeah.
Or these bishops will be an advantage at some point. I don't even care about the pawn structure here. I just think there's long-term danger for black.
Yeah, one mistake and somehow white's bishops just open up. f4, e5 could be extremely dangerous. h6, knight f5. Who knows? Should be two. So yeah, if knight c4 here, I feel like they're probably both calculating. Queen g4, knight takes b2, knight f5. Then, okay, black has moves. There's queen f6 at the end. Yeah, bishop c3. But
Yeah.
really sharp position. And now it could be opposite color bishops as well.
I almost feel like black probably needs to go for it, that knight c4 move. And I
see exactly why it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he plays queen d7 after a bit of a thought. That might not
Yeah,
be the right move.
Nakamura did lose one game, somebody in chat's asking, and it was an incredible game. I strongly advise you to check the replay from round 2 and see that game. We covered the entire game, Bortnik versus Nakamura. It was shocking. I've watched Bortnik play. I know how good he is to some extent, but that game truly shocked / impressed me.
That game was shocking. Yeah, viewer discretion advised, but yeah, do check out that game.
All right, so Dubov defends c4, prepares rook d1. At some point, f4, unseating these knights. I think that's the reason why Kostya, I feel like Steinberg needed to do something very, very precise, is that these knights don't have stable squares in the center. If your knights don't have stable squares in the center when you're fighting the bishop pair, you're on shaky ground.
Yeah, you're just kind of floating out there without much support. So as soon as the enemy looks your way, the knights could start to feel very vulnerable. So yeah, everything is kind of hanging on these tactics in the position that black is kind of just implying. If you go h3 f4, you're going to get killed on the dark square. So don't even try it, buddy. Don't even try it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, bishop c5 was preventing white from winning here with knight f5, queen c8, f4, right? Which just breaks the defense of that knight in 2 moves.
He has to go back knight f6, but yeah, now white could easily just start to take over here. King h2, f4, e5. Brutal. That c6 pawn is always going to hang in the end.
It's true.
Now also,
on d4, that thing.
He has all these discoveries on the d file.
Wow.
f4.
Doesn't care about the diagonal. He says, right now, this knight has to go somewhere pretty bad. So he's going to kick it right away. Whereas if you play king h2, maybe black prepares a square for the knight. Although I'm not sure what would be a great square for the knight, but
I mean, it's always a tough call. Do you do the preparatory move you kind of want to, or do you maybe you give black a move, so maybe better to play f4 right away. It's never easy, but
yeah,
looks like Dubov feels pretty sure of his calculation. And yeah, I mean, what can black do there? It's not be nice if black had a move like f6, reinforcing the knight.
What?
So queen e6. He's trying some dark square tricks here.
I was wondering what black was even thinking about here. Why he wasn't just accepting knight g6 quickly, and he plays a very funny, fancy move, queen e6, threatening the c pawn as well as hanging all of black's pieces. So doesn't give Dubov a lot of choice. But
yeah, Dubov looks a little bit annoyed, but he's kind of he's understanding that, okay, black had a bad position, so he has to try some tricks.
Yeah.
And he gets it. But I think he's going to be not very forgiving in the execution.
Right. I mean, do you think pawn takes knight and rook f5 diffuses the entire idea?
Yes, maybe. No, but then there's bishop takes d4 and queen takes f5. Oh, rook takes. Too tricky. Apparently there was something. Oh, just queen f5 right away. Sorry. Knight's already pinned.
Oh, the knight's already pinned. So you just go queen f5 here.
Yeah, that's
a very, very bad idea I came up with.
But that is natural. So it's clearly one of the lines black saw that convinced them to play queen e6.
Okay, so Dubov took it. And now thinking again, if you play queen e3, then your b2 bishop's undefended as well, and you've got another piece on the diagonal with that bishop.
Right. Yeah, queen e3 might defend, but right, feels like you're not exactly untangling.
Okay, but he does play it, defends it for the moment. I was wondering if there might be a world where you just move your king away here. And then if black plays bishop d4, you sack your rook and then attack d4. But black has c5, so it completely doesn't work. So queen e3 is maybe sort of the only kind of move. Rook d7. He's going to double and defend on d4 as well. He's going to be pinned for quite a while here.
Yeah. Yeah, just one of those situations where you're you got the extra piece, but you gotta hold on to it. You gotta sit there, try to defend. What to do? On the other hand, you're down a piece as black, and you feel like you're not lost, or you're not lost yet, but what to do? You don't feel good until you can get it back. So knight e4, try and take some more material.
So if white traded everything on e4, then the d pawn, then the d knight, not d pawn, but the d4 knight would come under further attack from the rook on e4. So that would be bad.
It's king h2
just undoes the king. Yeah.
It feels like he could have maybe traded and just gone rook d1 anyway, but
I think with this move he may be threatening knight c6.
Yeah, this is probably
maybe, although there's
probably stronger.
G6.
Okay, allowing knight takes c6 if I wants it. Which looks like it kind of works out, like knight takes e5, defends the rook on d3.
Right, it works out in that line, but against queen b2, I'm not sure that it would.
Ooh, queen b2.
But yeah, but the idea is, oh, sorry, it's taking off our g6 move. The idea on knight c6 was bishop takes queen, knight takes queen, defending the rook.
Yeah.
Okay, queen f3 from Dubov.
Mm-hmm.
So if everything were traded on d4, he doesn't have back rank mate, but he does pick up a full rook on e8.
Yeah.
So he has now almost unpinned this knight. There's still the matter of the bishop on b2. It's a lengthy operation.
Yeah, he still needs bishop a1. And then he's ready, finally, to move this knight. He had 3 pieces that the knight was pinned to. The queen, king on g1, bishop on b2. He's finally untangling all of them. Yeah, I think it's busted for black because now this knight on e4 is still hanging. The pawn on f7 is still hanging. Maybe knight g5 or something he can try.
I think this game is likely to come down to time actually at this point. So
could. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, black's got 2 pawns for a piece and the position's super complicated. But if you look at, I mean, 1 minute versus 2 minutes and still basically massively complicated position, it feels that there's a good chance that it'll end up being whoever has more time who prevails.
Well, right now that's Dubov. Extra minute on the clock, extra piece. It's got to be feeling good.
Yeah.
And f5.
F5.
Yeah.
Now,
what else?
You know, now the big question is there something like knight f5 here with the rook undefended?
Yeah, you also have knight c6 as well.
Yeah.
But knight f5, that looks super strong.
And
just opening up black's king side.
That's tough. Black calculated carefully for a minute before playing f5, and in 5 seconds, Dubov just rips it.
But I think black just didn't have any good moves there. I think he had to just try something. And that's it. There's a resignation. Dubov on 4 out of 5. Maybe we could check in with Bortnik, see how he's doing.
He won.
Oh, he just won. He's on 5 out of 5.
He won as well. I'm still playing our Wesley and Benjamin. And let's see, we've got the knight on e2 is kind of trapped, right? No, Wesley finds a way to keep it alive, and there's back rank mate now. Oh.
Ooh. Bummer. Nice mate though. The knight covering e2. Don't see that
Wesley
too often.
Definitely made the most of one of the worst knights. Wow.
Beautiful. Looks like Hikaru won his game as well. So he's on 4 out of 5. Fedoseev, Big Fish, he's 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
And then, so there's still going to be a couple spots open, right? So all the 3.5s, they're very much in contention still. You got
yeah, 3.5 out of 5 is still a good score. I guess what I was seeing last week was that you needed 6.5 to qualify pretty much. This week there are a few less players, so I could imagine that it might be possible with 6 points and good tie breaks. So in a sense, you're playing like the Swiss to achieve a certain score. You're not sort of like racing for first place, but you're just kind of like, you've got an approximate score that you need to get in range of, and you're trying not to drop more than 2.5 to 3 points.
Yeah. Okay, we see Peronic here with the draw against Jospim.
Yeah.
And yeah, next round should be starting pretty soon. So Bortnik, who's going to stop Bortnik? We might see Dubov Bortnik next. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They play. Yeah. Honestly, any of these players, Wesley, so I'll say we're gonna start seeing some really, really heavyweight battles now. Going into the knockout tomorrow.
Yeah. Unfortunate to see Benjamin lose there. Be pretty exciting to see him go from commentator to finalist.
Right.
I mean, his tournament's not done at all, but that was a blow to lose that game. We'll see how he can do from there.
Yeah. So we got round 6 coming up. Let's see. So pairings probably going to be, looks like they updated the tie break. So now Wesley So is a number 2 spot. So did they give it to like the highest rated player with 4 out of 5, or did they give it with the best tie? I feel like they give it to the rating, right? But Hikaru already played Bortnik.
Based on rating, yeah.
Feels like Wesley So might be the next highest rated.
Or Fedoseev.
Yeah, maybe Fedoseev. So we'll see who they give to Bortnik.
Yeah. But he seems on form today. I mean, you're right to ask the question, who's going to stop him? Because there are a lot of good players, but Bortnik has been really on top of things today.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's clearly got some kind of special talent, right? Because obviously his classical chess is not as high as some of these other guys. But when it comes to speed chess, he just like competes on an equal level. It's kind of amazing.
True. Like he's basically, there's only 2700s in classical chess in this bracket with him. I mean, they're not even in his bracket, but you know, they're within a point of him.
Right.
So he draws Wesley.
Wesley, yeah, Wesley's going E4.
Oof.
And he plays Alec
with some disrespectful.
Look, David, what are you going to play against Wesley? So, you know, 2800, 2900 level prep, knows everything. What are you going to do?
No, it's a perfectly fair choice. And actually, I'm just going to go through the moves again because they were prepped and playing so fast. I just want to know, what would Wesley do against the Alyekin? You just see it so rarely, right? So plays the knight f3 line and then takes with the knight on e5. Yeah, of course, that's what anyone would play in this variation. So simple moves so
pretty
far
solid
from Wesley.
Stuff. Yeah, I think this is a pretty straightforward approach. Now he goes for the 2 bishops, plays f4. Definitely feels like an idea he's prepped on his computer.
So is he looking to push f5 next, or to play knight f3 back to e5? I think maybe f5 next. Bortnik plays knight e4 looking to trade.
Now takes on g6. Got to throw a knight takes c3 here, bc. Okay, white gets the 2 bishops. And just very calm G3. Exactly Wesley So's type of position here. He loves having the two bishops, small advantage, very technical, looking to slowly open things up. And yeah, maybe rook b1 here, just trying to start softening black up. H4, H5 might happen at some point.
From black's perspective, I think they need to open some space in the center and try to find an outpost for the knight or some counterplay against white's king that's sort of open from the central area without the F pawn.
Mm-hmm. Now C5, very committal.
Mm-hmm. Well, it really, if black's main idea was C5, as I was starting to think, then this is one way to stop black from playing C5.
Absolutely. The problem is it allows other stuff. So now black can try to put the knight on D5, and then it's hard to push C4 for white without hanging the D pawn. So this D5 square is going to be beautiful.
So I guess Wesley wants to provoke A6, which would take the sting out of C5 for black, out of B6 for black in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Bortnick recognizes it's kind of like critical. And, you know, if he plays A6, then anytime later he plays B6, white can just trade it with, you know, a winning position almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
The isolated A and C pawns are bad. White center remains intact. So he plays for B6 anyway here.
Uh-huh.
On queen A7, he can probably take on C5 and start taking white center apart. So Wesley trades on B6 quickly. He planned this when he played queen A4. And he's saying, if you take A takes B6, maybe he can grab the pawn on C6 with the queen here.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's actually not clear, like, who's trying to open up the position? Is it white with the two bishops, or is it black who's playing against this open king on G1? It's kind of in, like, both sides have to be careful here.
Yeah, I would argue it's mainly black initially, because they need to establish some square for the knight. But of course, there are scenarios that black might regret later on.
Mm-hmm.
But white, you know, when you've got the bishop pair, you don't necessarily want to open the position right away. You want to restrict the opponent's knight, coordinate all your pieces, and then specifically start to open the diagonal that you want when it's time.
Mm-hmm. Knight d5, actually, that's surprising. I thought rook c8 was going to be the move, but then maybe queen f3, just defending the pawn.
And you're still down that pawn. So Bortnick's really going to have to justify the pawn sack with b6. I mean, it was the key moment, and the computer engine 100% agreed with everything he did. I mean, it's like
Still
amazing,
thinks his
right?
position's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Even though he's down the pawn.
Yeah, and Wesley plays the move that stops rook c8 and really looks like a great move to diffuse everything that white is up to. Queen to b1, so looking to come into white's position through c2 or e4 maybe in some cases.
Yeah, or you just take on a2, just get the pawn back.
Right, threatening the pawn at the same time. I was kind of assuming it would be defended. And then there's also maybe the idea of rook b8.
Mm-hmm.
Then your bishop on c1 gets reduced to just preventing rook b2 for the rest of the game, kind of.
Yeah, this poor bishop.
Oh, man. It does feel like Bortnick is just too good today.
I mean, it feels like the bishop can move, right? Because you have this discovered attack against the queen. But as soon as it moves, black will then move and then gain a tempo on the bishop. So bishop d2 takes on a2, or bishop e3, queen e4. There's always some danger here.
Yeah, it's a problem that this bishop's got no square. Definitely. Major problem.
How's Wesley So gonna fix his issues?
So Wesley So starting to get a little bit behind on the clock here in this complicated position. Now we see his opponent, who seems a little bit more relaxed. It's always a little bit less pressure when it's your opponent's turn than when it's yours, right?
For sure. Yeah, I've been watching him throughout this game. He's been relaxed, talking to chat, I presume, telling stories, tales. Whereas Wesley's just been focused. I don't think Wesley's streaming. He's just kind of sitting there, calculating move by move. But somehow the streaming doesn't affect Bortnik too much.
Right. Yeah, with players like Bortnik and Hikaru, I always wonder, like, how good would they be if they didn't also like talk to their chat the entire time? Yeah. Because for me, it costs me 300 points, but I think they must not really be losing much by that. Like, they must just be running parallel processes. Like, their mouth just talks without requiring too much of their processor.
Yeah, I don't know. You would think they're used to it somehow, but that would still affect them at least a little bit. I don't know. I'm not able to think and talk and play all at the same time.
I thought you were just gonna stop at those two. Like, I never even think about what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like, no, wait, I think and talk, but yeah, think, talk, and play.
And play. Whew. All right. So settles for bishop c4 finally, defends a2, goes after the knight. And, big questions here. If knight c3, is there bishop e6?
Three. It also could be like bishop d2. Maybe queen c2.
Yeah.
If he can take on c3, that's very nice for black. It's deep pawn falls, everything kind of starts to feel shaky.
By the same token, if he can't take on c3, that feels like a major setback. Because if white just, takes his knight off on d5 and then white's up 2 pawns or something, or simplifying the position. And I can imagine white playing, bishop a3 and trading on e7 in some case as well.
Yeah, but still, I feel like their pawn structure here for white is always just kind of long-term weak. But now time's starting to tick down for both players. They're approaching the 5-minute mark.
Yeah.
What to do?
So it's like knight c3 or rook d8. I mean, we could calculate this knight c3 move with them. I mean, I don't think it shouldn't be too complicated, right? Knight c3, bishop e6. And if you take back, then queen c3 is really good. So probably knight e2 check in response.
Yeah.
And then king f2 or something, knight d4. And white's been refuted, right? Okay. So knight c3 was probably somewhere in the realm of playable.
Yeah, somehow it could
queen e4.
make it work, right?
And Wesley's able to trade off the strong knight, but for the moment, the queen on e4 is so good that black still has compensation.
Yeah, very nice compensation here for black. You can go rook c8. Rook b8, just start trying to get his rook in. I mean, if the rook gets down to the second rank, it's just over. Black wins.
Right.
But
now, if we ask ourselves, what is white trying to do to untangle? My first thought would be bishop a3, trying to trade it. And I pretty much assumed that queen e3 check would be a perpetual.
At least, right.
In response, if black wanted it, right? So I see basically no danger for black here.
Zero danger.
I don't see like a great idea for white next.
Yeah, bishop a3, you can give the check, trade on a3, go rook c8 as well. Just take on c3, just play the position like queen and rook.
Yeah, don't even take rook. you don't even want to take the perpetual. You just like the idea of attacking white's king long term.
Yeah, I feel like in this heavy piece endgame, black is just not risking, but okay, I guess they drew by agreement. Bortnick giving his opponent some respect by giving him the draw, I feel. So what else?
Yeah, I mean, you also have to
to
think if Bortnick needs 6.5 points to qualify, you know, a draw is not bad for him here.
Now, yeah, qualifying is good, but of course there's still a bunch of points on the line. Just in general.
Yeah.
But is there a big benefit to qualifying first versus qualifying eighth?
There is a bit of an advantage. The main advantage is that if you're the first seed, you get white in the knockout. The knockout format tomorrow involves 1 game knockouts, not 2 game knockouts. So the top seed will always get white, and they play a 10-minute game like today, but with a 2-second increment. So they play 1 game of 10 and 2 in the knockout. And if you're the higher seed, you get white, and you don't have to play a single game with black. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the fact that number 1 plays number 8 and number 2 plays number 7 and stuff like that, I think that basically doesn't matter, because you basically get 8 players who are a fairly comparable strength usually, or it's not clear who, that the order.
Yeah. But look, if I know somehow going into the last round of this, that Hikaru is getting the 7th seed, and I have a choice between getting 2nd or getting 3rd, I'm going to take 3rd. Okay.
Right. But how are you going to calculate the tie breaks while you're playing your game?
It's really tough.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think they do want to finish like higher because of getting white, but it's not the end of the world. It's much more important to just qualify.
Yeah, definitely. So that explains for sure, like the draw. I mean, look at this position. Fedoseev here is just
total disrespect for this
annihilating Nordberg. In fact, I've never seen the eval bar be 100%. I thought there's always a little tail of something, of white or black. I've never seen it just 100. It's just it's just done. White,
especially
it's like white
when you stacked a rook.
Yeah, there's a resignation. Yeah, so, he was only down the exchange there. He had a lot of pawns, but oh man, these pawns.
So even after Queen E4, folks, his plan was not to take the knight even next, right? His plan was on some move like, I don't know, Queen D3 or whatever. He's going to play F2 check, King F1, Queen H1. That's what he's been angling for. It was never to actually take the knight with his pawn. So
brutal,
sickening display.
Yeah,
the big fish.
Here we have Andreikin in big trouble against Pavel Tregyubov, another very strong GM. We don't hear about Tregyubov too much in the online circuit, but he's a very well-established classical player.
Andreikin's tournament is in jeopardy because he's on 3 and 2. He's got half a point less than Tregyubov. If he loses this game, he would be at 3 and 3 with minimal chances of qualifying for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And before last week, Andreikin had won the event twice in a row. So he's been on like a really good streak. He made the final 8 last week. But yeah.
Now he's trying to get some counterplay here. He's kind of threatening a perpetual with the rooks. But E6, I like this move a lot. Giving the king an escape route via D4, E5, D6. And yeah, as you're showing, setting up rook F7. Very important mating pattern to know.
Yeah. So material is equal here. And the difference is largely the quality of these 2 pawns, and the knight, I guess, is pretty well placed at the moment.
And I would say king safety is not exactly black's strength here.
Right. But king safety is kind of complicated for both of them.
Oddly so, but that's the thing. If white just has a square for the king and black doesn't, that's
All
it.
you need is
Game
one
over.
more square.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like your king has 0 squares and mine has 1. Yes.
Rook G1 also in the position. Rook F7 isn't enough of a mate. Oh boy. I mean, is there any chance here for black? Tries Rook E2 check.
If king F4, there's maybe rook C4 from the side. So he goes to D4. Now
Mhm.
this rook definitely can't let the king out.
Yeah.
Notice that Tregibov is pretty low on time. He's got a minute left.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the only chance, is to just somehow not get mated and escape into a completely lost endgame. Or you could try to flag, but how do you even do that? I mean, Bishop E8, Rook G1.
Right? Yeah, Bishop E8. That's something you can try. Rook G1's a tricky move to find, and even there's Rook G2.
True.
White also has Rook B8 or Rook H7. Kostia is a sick idea. Look at Rook H7.
Learning E7.
Learning E7 if the rook goes to G2 and these Rook G1 lines, right? So
Right.
like
Maybe
here,
Rook G2, Rook
probably get Rook
H7
G2,
now.
trade it and come over here.
I would have done it without training. I don't know why, but it just feels better.
Maybe he's just gonna play Rook B8 now.
That seems simple. He just takes easy D6.
That's a little bit too much of the Soviet technique. Just like you see a winning rook and pawn ending, so you don't win your opponent's pieces.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
No, but how can you argue with this? How can you argue? Forced resignation.
Yeah, I guess you can't. I guess you can't. And Fair Chess on YouTube. Yes, we haven't seen him struggle in this tournament.
So yeah, this is maybe not going to be his week.
See if Benjamin can keep his chances alive here with just a rook against 2 bishops. It's very, very tough work for the rook. Rook C3 is going to win one of the bishops.
I think that's going to win it for him.
Bishop pair no longer.
And now he gets behind the B pawn. He just needs to not allow bishop B6. But I think maybe you just take and start getting his king in.
Complicated. What time does he have? He's got 40 seconds.
Oh, he goes king F6 because bishop B6 he just takes and his G pawn promotes. So he saves time here. Right.
Oh, and he's got it. He's got time to pants that bishop on F2.
Yeah, he's got the pawns and the time. Very nice.
Well done. So he stays on 3 out of 6 as well, just barely in it. And that is the end of round 6. We are 2/3 of the way through the tournament. Benjamin Bach is up to 4 out of 6, and he is still on the cusp of potentially qualifying for tomorrow's knockout. Kostia, let's go over the format for tomorrow's tournament during our little 1-minute break here.
Yeah, so we'll do, we're going to have an elimination tomorrow, the top 8 players from today. There's only going to be one game, 1 10+2 game played in each match, with the higher seed starting with white. And then if that game is drawn, then a single bidding Armageddon game is played. Did you see any bidding games last week, David? How does that work?
Let me offer a correction. I believe this slide is missing a 3+2 game, which is played with the reversed color. So should you survive that first game where you play black in the 10-minute game, you get a chance with white in a 3+2.
Gotcha.
Our producer might correct me in our ears if that's wrong, but I definitely saw that format employed last week. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a blitz game and then the Armageddon game that they bid for.
Yeah.
And so usually those bidding wars are pretty intense. So usually it's you bid the amount of time you're willing to take as black with draw odds.
Yeah. And it's very fair. It's something I think they should use basically anytime they're using Armageddons, if it's practical, if they've got the time. And in general, Armageddons are used only in important 1-versus-1 matches where there is the time and the resources to do that.
Yeah, I like the bidding because then it gives the players some more to think about.
Look
And
at this.
look at this instant draw.
That's how it works at the end here. While we were watching that other game last round between Wesley, and Bortnick, which was played to a certain extent, by the time that game had finished, all the other top boards had already drawn, and that was only in round 6. So pretty early on. Naka and Fedoseev starting off with the Berlin. Will Naka be content with the draw, or will he be looking to increase his score here?
No, I think he's looking to play. If he wanted the draw, he could have played the famous leave the bishop hanging on b5 a4 line that they had in the candidates, and of course they've had a million times in these online events. So yeah, he's playing. It's kind of interesting to say that he goes for the rookie 1 Berlin line, one of the most solid lines, but it seems like he is interested in at least pushing Fedoseev here, because Naka is a little bit behind. He's on 4.5 out of 6 going into this round. Bortnick had 5.5, but quickly draws with Dubov, who was on 4.5 as well. And yeah, now it seems like they're going to need 5 points going into the next round to kind of stay in solid contention of top 8.
Yeah. And it's not that Naka needs to win here to qualify, but it's true that at 4.5 out of 6, if he just started drawing at this point, that would not assure him of qualification. Like, he does need to win a game in the next 3 probably. So why not do it right now?
Yeah, playing whites. He's got a position here. A little weird with black having this knight on e8, but this knight's just 1 move away from d6, where I think it stands quite nice. But yeah, it seems like what black is thinking about is like white's next move is going to be knight c3 here, hitting the queen. Just wants a plan for that. Queen d7. Queen d7 backs up, and then he wants knight d6 next move. Okay, so white goes queen to b3 here. Naka just developing. I kind of like white's position. You got rook 81, maybe g3, bishop g2. If black ever goes c6, he's breaking with d5. And otherwise,
yeah.
and otherwise, white can just push d5 himself here. Oh, Naka in the zone. He's bopping. He's listening to something.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely feeling it.
He's loving it. He's loving it. These two, by the way, used to be teammates on the New York Marshalls in the Pro Chess League. And I remember when they would often play, you would see them like playing matches against each other, kind of getting in some extra reps before the official matches.
I remember that team. Yeah, Naka and Fedoseev, 2 very big fish on the top 2 boards. And I'm sure they've played a million games online against each other. And yeah, it looks okay. Well, that's a big decision from Fedoseev there, grabbing the pawn. Naka goes rook 81. Clearly anticipating that. And now there's a lot of pressure on this d file.
Yeah, you could see the knight come to d5 and take on c7 would be one way to sort of break through. Like, if black plays bishop f6 or something, right? You just go straight for knight d5, take on c7.
Knight d5 is an idea either way. Looking for knight e7 check.
Yeah, if the bishop went to b6, you'd still have knight d5 with knight e7.
Yeah, so c5. This is the move I was thinking about, because this is the move black wants to play. Just cementing the bishop on d4. The cost of the knight on d6 now no longer being outposted.
Is knight
e2 here? Right, knight b5. Yeah.
Sorry about the noise here. I was thinking maybe knight e2 to make sure you get rid of that bishop.
Bishop e5 could also be a move along the same lines.
Yeah. So if black keeps an outpost on d4, that's going to be really hard for white to work around.
He takes on d6. So he's going for the simplification. So knight b5. And now he wants to, I guess, take on d4, get rid of this bishop, and pick up that pawn.
He's got the idea of rook e7 if black defends d4.
Yeah, rook e7 coming here. Otherwise, I think black would have just quickly played some rook to d8. But rook e7 is annoying. And then, okay, you know, sometimes I see, I'm not good enough to pull this off myself, but sometimes I see these super GMs giving their opponent like a strong central pawn, but then they try to win b7, they try to take a7, they blockade the center pawn, and then they win with their two connected passers on the queen side. But when I try to do it as white, this d pawn just promotes on me and I lose the game. So I don't know. Somehow they just know. They just know when they can get away with it and when they can't. So d3, Fedosey was looking to punish. Always what we like to see.
That's one strong pawn. I mean, if he can just support it with rook d8, the bishop on f1 is not getting out. So you can capture all the pawns you want on the queen side. This d pawn looks powerful here.
Feels like it's enough. But yeah, we might also see like rook d2, rook e3. Just trying to corral the pawn this way. But okay, Naka's thinking about it. Rook e7. So, you know, I've played Naka a couple times in like Arena Kings and stuff. I think it's mostly been 960 that we met, maybe some normal games as well. And sometimes, you know, I'm not doing that bad, but then I watch his stream later. And what happens is he's just not looking at the game. He's just literally just talking to chat the whole time about not the game, just random, you know, whatever's going on. Then when I make a move, he just moves back. And then if I have like a good position because I've been doing well, then he kind of like zones in, he focuses, and then starts outplaying me. And then
yeah, I predicted his move here, Ghosted.
Wow, G4. G4, what a move.
Trying to undermine the control of this pawn, right? Because if you back up, then you always have to be ready for f4, f5 as well as black. And it just gives you, I mean, there's just a lot of juice there, right? Tricky things to figure out.
Okay, but I mean, yeah, to my eyes, this looks incredibly risky for white. I mean, I'm sure Naka knows that, but still. I just feel like this king is going to be opened up. At a5, he counters. Now, I feel like he can still go queen f4. So it doesn't seem that bad for white.
Well, that would take the queen off of this rook e7 move and off of the b pawn, right? Because I think actually in case of bishop g4, rook d3, white would be pretty safe because the rooks are just so active, right? And black's going to lose their extra pawn on b7 on the next move.
Yeah.
So with a5, disrupting the good queen position.
Yeah, and then queen f4 also blocks this f pawn. So then black just goes bishop g6 and it's totally safe. What can white do here? What options does he have? I guess he can really move the queen anywhere. He doesn't care about defending g4 because he always has rook takes d3.
The first thing I think about is queen e7. Because I feel like white's sort of like groveling, but also trying to emphasize the rooks being active first. So trading off black's queen can let you sort of maximize those rooks.
I like that. That's like that Bortnik move, like queen d4 we saw. No, not Bortnik. That was Noterbeck who played that move where he's like down a pawn, but he trades queens to get the initiative in the end game.
Yeah.
Yeah, queen e7 not easy to deal with. Maybe bishop takes g4 there.
Right. Bishop g4, and then you play rook d3 there maybe.
And okay, black will be up a pawn, but it'll be hard to hold on to it exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you can lock in a rook on the 7th rank, that can often be worth a pawn. And if you can just stay more active than the opponent, there's tons of drawing chances. So
yeah, man, it's a5
within the realm of reason here.
Sure, but it's really thrown Hikaru into the tank.
Yeah. Yeah, he stopped talking to chat for a moment.
I feel like he's still whispering some stuff, but he doesn't look super happy.
Yeah,
Shaking the head.
For a while now, he's telling chat the conclusion. The conclusion is my position is just not that good. He's like, this is why you should always play queen e4, queen d4. Nothing good comes of playing moves.
There we go. There's your queen e7.
Yeah, and he's offered a draw with the move as well.
Oh, interesting.
Sayev, who's got half a point more, is happy to just kind of like try and draw out the.
I think he's got to play here as black, right? I mean, obviously we see the eval, but you're up a minute. Hikaru is offering you a draw, right? Which he's not doing if he likes his position, right? Fedoseev knows this. He's offered plenty of bailout draws himself. So yeah, he takes on g4. D3. Yeah, they've gone for this end game. Okay, black. Okay, it's just it's up to white to win back the pawn. Yeah.
One important thing for white was to play rook d3 and not trade queens first, because if you trade queens first, that bishop gets to c6 and defends the b pawn, and it's like well placed there. So
yeah.
So he goes for b5. It's interesting.
Rook d4. And now Bar is kind of caught up here, so seems like black maybe missed a chance earlier, but now clearly the engine believes Naka has enough here in this position. But still, pawn is a pawn, and until white wins it back, it's not really going to be clear.
Yeah.
B4.
What's that about?
Offering a pawn. I think he wants rook a1, bishop h3 at the end, which, yeah, very annoying.
I mean, shouldn't king g2 deal with that?
Yeah, but then he'll have time for like b3, so he can keep the pawn. H4.
I completely don't understand this, Kostya. For black in this position here, I would play g5, king g7, activate the king to f6, activate the pawn majority, gain some space over there on the side of the board where you're stronger. Here he offers the pawn. I don't understand. I think if white takes the pawn, black has basically nothing.
Yeah, maybe he could have taken it. You might be right.
I mean, once you lose the pawn on the queen side, you're playing for a draw as black. White's got a pass pawn.
I mean, I don't know. There's still a lot of pieces like two rooks and a bishop. So if there's some counterplay against white's king, I mean that could always, like here, I see three potential passers on the king side for black.
Okay.
So I feel like, but now, okay, there's the draw. Looks like did Fedoseev offer the draw this time, or did Naka offer a second draw? Very curious.
I couldn't tell. I didn't notice the moment it popped up. It was accepted too quickly for me to see where it came from.
Dang. Okay, so they do draw there. Naka saves it. It was a little bit tough there for a moment, but I think he was never really in huge danger.
Now, this is a controversial position that Wesley has. He's up in exchange, but otherwise it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
this pair of pawns
just grab this pawn on
strong.
H4. No, it's super sharp, but D4. And now this D pawn is creating counterplay. Yeah, this is just all three results, 100% possible here. I didn't even play this position. You have rook h8 check, but you generally don't want to trade the rook off as white.
Maybe he has to play rook h8 and then e6 though, because if you play a neutral move and black plays knight f5, aren't you?
Knight f5 is
sort of dead if you lose that pawn.
Yeah. So that rook h8 e6 might be necessary. Takes king c8.
King goes to c8. Probably with the trade in.
I think he's okay. Takes and knight c4. The nice thing is white's king is close to kind of deal with this pawn too.
I mean, my variation does violate the rule about different kinds of pieces that white would not want to trade a rook.
Right. But there's also a rule of not giving up your f5 pawn when this is the last thing.
Yeah,
Holding your position together.
that's right.
So he calculates. He realized, yeah, because Tragubov, he didn't want to break that like classic Soviet principle. He like his hand couldn't bring him to trade the rooks, but otherwise there's no choice. So
right,
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where you try to calculate rook h7 in that position, but my inner tactical warning system says that's going to be like a blunder. So
yeah, Black's pawn seems very strong there. So knight c4, knight c6. It feels like you got to take black here if you're going to take a side, just because rook is so open.
Yeah, rook is so good, and the b pawn is,
b pawn's a potential problem.
Yeah, very worrisome. King gets into the middle. This rook's going to consider going to g3. I guess white's going to play bishop d4. On rook e2 check, I guess the king goes forward.
Yeah. Now if I can go king e7 here, I feel like rook a3 might have been an option there as well, but
oh wow, rook a3.
Yeah, kind of a fancy move.
Very fancy, Kostya.
But
dang.
But maybe just knight d2, just going back and hard for black to make progress, because now I think white is just kind of looking to take on d4, bring the king to the b pawn and try to take the b pawn.
Yeah, well, he's trying to kick the knight off first to keep the long range bishop and just have the bishop to attack b4 as well.
Now d3 is an option, takes d2. Well, would have to give back one of the pieces.
Knight takes d2 and then bishop c5 to b4 would be a draw there. But yeah, he goes after the bishop, forces this position. Now what does white need? Knight a5 and then king c5, I guess.
Yeah, it should be in time here.
What can you do if you're Wesley? You put like so much pressure on white, but Tragubov found all the right moves.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened earlier. My instinct is maybe white was even better winning earlier with the exchange sack. It looked like he was coming in with plenty of compensation at some point. So this might have been Wesley escaping into some kind of drawn in game. Okay, rook c3. Yeah.
Challenging.
These guys, they always find a way to just keep it going, like one more move, right? Just keep it going.
Yeah. King d5 was nice though, just saying, you can't clean up this e pawn without playing rook d3 and letting the king cross over, right? So yeah, king f6 basically just kind of like a waiting move, and Wesley plays h4, and now he can come across with king c5.
Now he's allowing, yeah, exactly, and that should be drawn. I feel like Wesley's not really the type of guy to try to flag. We'll see. We'll see. Our producer's telling us Wesley offered 2 draws already.
Yeah, so that's right. I see it. Wesley offered a draw. Tragubov declined. Wesley offered a draw. Tragubov declined. Probably didn't notice it coming in.
I don't know.
Check. He's playing it out.
He gave check. Could have just taken the b pawn there. So now both players are keeping the game going.
Yeah.
Voluntarily. Again, could have taken the b pawn. So yeah, look, if Wesley wins this game, then later he can say, look, I offered 2 draws.
Yeah. Okay, Tragubov found the draw button.
Yeah, he might just not have even seen it. That's totally possible.
Wesley was sort of pre-moving, so he didn't get a chance to accept it.
But look, Wesley, he was down when we started this. He had like 49 seconds to over a minute, and now he's like up 10 seconds. Oh boy.
Now he's,
and Tragubov, this is dangerous. And he hasn't been pushing his pawn, because then that resets the 50 move rule. And
right.
If this is the rook good knight, then he's done.
Yeah. Well,
Wesley avoiding all the repetitions.
you can't complain about what Wesley's done when he offered draw after draw after draw. White had knight c3 check for a moment there. Wesley played king b5.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah.
Oh, brutal.
Have to win on time here. And so it goes. I think Tregyubov just wasn't familiar with how to agree to a draw at first. I don't think he saw the offers coming in, and
that's very possible.
Down he goes. And now Wesley, now he's in very, very good shape to qualify. He's got 5.5. I've got a feeling that there may be one or two people on 6 who even get in today. We'll see how the pairings shake out. But
yeah, we've got 2 rounds to go after this. Bortnick, he's already played Wesley. I don't think he's played Fedoseev yet, so we'll probably see them next. And then we got Wesley on 5.5. He'll play someone from the 5-point group. Maybe Hikaru. I don't think we've seen Hikaru Wesley yet. That's always a big matchup.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a big fight. Now I see we got Serrana and Bach, and like our underdogs. They're trying to sneak into the finals.
Yeah. So
we got Benjamin in the chat asking if there's a break now after round 7.
Yeah, normally
there is, Benjamin.
There is
yes.
a 3-minute break here in round 7, so it's a good chance for us to thank our presenting sponsor Coinbase, which proudly supports the Rapid Chess Championship. The best part about Coinbase, you can earn crypto while learning about crypto. So what are you waiting for? Go to coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account today. I definitely don't know much about crypto, Kostya. The learning about part would definitely apply to me.
Yeah, I've done it a bit on Coinbase. It's cool that you just watch some quick presentation. You have to answer a couple of quiz questions, and then you get $3 worth of some coin you just learned about that could be the future. So it's kind of cool.
Cool. Yeah. And with events like this, with prize funds like $650,000 and top 10 players in the world going at it, you definitely appreciate having some sponsors, because I was just thinking earlier today at some point, you were analyzing a position. I was sitting here thinking like, man, that's amazing that I'm just sitting here watching Wesley So today. Like the candidates are done, but just like, there's always something, there's always some event. And, I think that's largely thanks to some more sponsorship in the chess world.
Absolutely. So I think we're doing a quick break here.
Yeah.
And we will be back very soon, guys. The final 2 rounds, Rapid Chess Championship. Stay tuned.
And we're back already with the chess.com Rapid Chess Championships presented by Coinbase. The top 3 boards have already drawn in like 5 seconds immediately. Questioning a little bit the draw from Jospin, who has less points than all the other players who drew. And so here we are on board 4, watching Hikaru Nakamura and Benjamin Bach. They are both on 5 out of 7, and they might need 1.5 points out of the last 2 to be certain of qualifying for tomorrow's top 8.
Gotcha. Yeah, so some cynical draws at the top, but now we have Bortnick 6.5 out of 8, Wesley 6 out of 8, Fedoseev 6 out of 8, Dubov and Serrana 5.5 out of 8, and you mentioned Yasmo. I guess he has 4.5 now, so he'll need, or he has 5 out of 8 now, so he'll likely need to win the last round.
Yeah, he'll need a win and some luck. So he really put himself in a weird position there. You know, I didn't see the game, so maybe like the first few moves got played and he didn't like the opening he got. But all right, Bach and Hikaru will give us a fight. Hikaru here finishing development while sacrificing the C pawn. Bach says, nope, I just need to castle myself. Can't take that.
This is a big matchup, kind of feels like, yeah, must-win game for Hikaru almost to make sure he gets in. He's in number 7 now, but there's not a lot of players on 4.5, to be fair. Only Trigubov and Abidabi. And yeah, so seems like 6 definitely could, but yeah, you want to be secure in your qualification. But yeah, this last round is going to be very interesting. I guess we'll see more draws at the top, because if both players qualify, that's kind of all that matters. So why not? But for Benjamin to qualify, he's first going to have to get through Hikaru. And these guys know each other. I'm sure they've played many times online and in person.
Yeah, and Bach has worked doing commentary on Hikaru's channel as recently as the candidates. So
right,
they'll know each other well. But won't let the friendliness get in the way of the fact that they need a point right now in this tournament.
Yeah. And can we just quickly go through the opening in this one? I'm just kind of curious how we got to this point.
I would say it's a Nimzo.
Yeah, looks
that's true.
Very Nimzo-ish.
Yeah. So classical Nimzo with bishop g5. And then I guess some would say like not that ambitious to take on f6 right away.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine.
And Hikaru playing is kind of like main, like, you know, super GM repertoire. Like this is what he plays when he wants to just hold solid.
Yeah.
So not showing Benjamin the disrespect of like a 1g6 or 1b6, something like this.
That's right.
Sometimes plays.
No 2 knights tangos, no black lions, no.
Yeah.
No strange pussycats, just normal chess moves that you would see at the candidates tournament.
Now we have a normal position, bishop versus knight. I'd probably give white a small edge just because I like this this pressure on the c file. I feel like black is the one that has to kind of figure it out. It was rook d2. Maybe we might see him double on the d file, but kind of just feels nice for white. You got like a little advantage here. The bishop is fine, I think. It covers a lot of squares.
Yeah, I guess one of the main things that black's looking at is playing e4 at some point to isolate the d5 pawn if you need counterplay against the pressure on c7, but that's probably best used as a threat rather than a move you actually play, you know, like attack d5 a lot and hopefully you're threatening e4 if white takes on c7, because once you commit to e4, you know, the bishop can then move around, find a new area. The queen's influence increases. So
yeah, you get the d4 square as well. So it's a very committal move. I thought with rook e7, Hikaru is preparing knight e8. And there he goes. Okay.
You win.
Yeah. Which covers c7, also prepares to put the knight on d6. That's kind of black's dream here. Knight d6, f7, f5, maybe e4. b4 from white.
Yeah.
a6, quick move. I get it.
Yeah, white's got a good position. I mean, no concerns for Bach so far. I mean, what do you think of Queen C5?
Just park the queen there. Yeah, why not?
Just park her there and say, like, you know, you're just not gonna allow any shenanigans, right? You're not gonna end up worse. You're gonna try and create like a 2-result position, I guess, by taking queens off.
Yeah. I think kind of what you're looking for. Okay, G3 also makes sense. Queen F6 immediately. So he's transferring the queen over before playing knight D6. I think that's important. Otherwise, Queen C5 and Black's queen is just stuck on the queen side.
I guess against Queen C5, Black could have also played Queen F6 to avoid the queen trade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So there was no way for Bach to just completely lock down this game. And now Hikaru's going to poke his dark squares with H4. So I suggest H4 for white, but what do you think?
I mean, usually that's what you're supposed to do. So okay. I would expect that, especially in rapid chess, you don't really have a lot of time to break the rules. So otherwise Black gets H4, making some dark squares. I don't know if I would be super afraid, but yeah, he ends up doing it. And okay, G5 right away. And this is very double-edged because both kings kind of open up, but clearly Naka kind of wants to create some more imbalance, maybe H4. It's nice that white has no way of getting to this like 4th rank with the heavy pieces. So he goes E4.
Yeah. It's like your point about E4 giving you the D4 square, like the knight and the pawn are really keeping the white pieces, all of them at bay. And also I noticed Naka's doing this Naka thing of trying to generate pressure via the clock, right? Like you've got some position that's kind of sturdy and, you know, you don't necessarily have any play. So you just play really fast and put that kind of pressure on the opponent.
No, using the clock as a weapon. Absolutely. And Naka is very good at like the fortress type of positions. Like you've probably seen some of his famous wins against like Crafty and Ripka, where he just gets a super close position and then it's like 200 move game and the engine doesn't know how to handle it and just absolutely obliterates some of these older engines in a blitz game, like a 3-0 game. I mean, really crazy stuff.
I feel like Bach is definitely hoping to trade queens. Like I think the whole point of rook D3 is to play queen D2, you know, and he just wants to bring this queen over into the kingside area and just start offering queen trades nonstop.
Right. Yeah, much safer for white with queens off the board.
It feels like he's playing a little bit too slowly.
But now Queen G4. And yeah, I feel like this clock is going to be a big problem now because he's down to 3 minutes. And any kind of long end game, Black can just make like 30 moves, you know, push B6. As long as he has like C7 defended, imagine he puts his rooks on E7 and G7 and it's like no way for white to break through. But in the meantime, queens aren't even off yet. So yeah, Queen H6 or maybe Rook H7 now for Black and then H4. Feels very unpleasant for white.
Yeah, I mean, the thing he really needs to do is like King H2, Bishop H3.
Right.
That's kind of like the dream here, but he wants to do it without losing the E4 bond too badly, probably.
Yeah, it's really not easy for white. No, at some point, okay, I mean, maybe King H2, F3, and then Bishop H3. Just try to fight back on the king side, but yeah, it's really tough. The Black setup is just so harmonious. And the clock, now it's 4 minutes. It's really too much. And Benjamin knows, but it's just the position. It's like he has no breaks. It's not like he can just force everything off the board and he just has to kind of shuffle back and forth, which is very tough because Black is just improving the position every move. F6, Rook F8, you know, Rook H7, Rook G7.
To me, he's got the look of somebody who's like thinking too hard about the chess, you know, he's not at all in an instinct mode, right? It's like he's sort of like reasoning out every move he's playing here. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas Naka kind of knows like, okay, there's not going to be a forced win every move. So just shuffle the pieces over and okay, now he sees an opportunity. He goes F5.
Now he goes for something.
Yeah. And this something looks pretty nasty.
And
he
he's
takes
playing it
F5.
so fast too. Oof. Brutal.
Yeah, now black's position is just good on the board. So now Naka's not going to play that fast. Now he's actually going to calculate and make sure he finds it. Now he knows, like, hey, position's just good. He doesn't need to flag anyone. He can just win it normally.
Right.
So knight f5, e3.
Yeah, I mean, he can also be thinking about h4 here with the idea of gh4, knight f5. Then there's queen h3. So it's just something to think about. I think you're right that in the end he will just play a simpler move, knight f5. What's he thinking there? That white might go queen f4?
Yeah, it could be. Wants to make sure that this endgame is good. I think you could trade, go rook g7.
Oh, h4, g takes h4. There would be rook g7 as well. So that's another idea there. Maybe
queen e2. Now there's e3, exactly. Takes. Doesn't take on f2, rook e2.
Yeah, I think Benjamin should be happy to get the queen trade.
Definitely.
And Naka, yeah, he's looking at some line he should have played instead in his head, I think. It's like mild regret time.
He looked, yeah, a little like, Because, okay, now it's a lot safer for white than it was just a few moves ago.
Yeah, this is down to squeezing something out of the stone / the time. Knight has to come back to defend the B pawn. So it had to be knight takes here. Oh, and Bach looks at the G pawn. That's a strong move from him.
Yeah, no, Benjamin's playing very well. I think he's holding it, but it's the clock. So as long as there's pieces that remain on the board, clock keeps ticking down. Second year.
Naka sacks the E3 pawn. And he's just definitely worse here, right? I mean, down a pawn. Oh no, that was an extra pawn? Because he has C7 still.
Yeah, somewhere he got the pawn back.
I hadn't realized. 1.5 minutes.
Now he gave the pawn. But okay, this one he's gonna try to win back as well. Eventually. Oh, c5. Oh, so he makes a passer. Now it's getting tricky.
Goes after the G pawn, take it with the rook to get some more distance from that king. And even more distance from that king.
B6. Ooh, b6. Wow.
Yeah. Locking in the dark squares. So Naka's got 2 against 3 pawns, but he's trying to pressure here.
There's always 94. Yeah, and I feel like this is still about the clock. I mean, he's trying to win on the board, obviously, but I feel like he's just keeping it complicated enough to eventually run down the clock and maybe play for the win. I mean, qualification is on the line. You know, you got to do what you got to do. Okay, I feel like it's time to get this rook off of a5. Yeah.
If you're part of the moral degradation. All right, there goes Bach's G pawn, throws in a check on king to f5. He might have an evil move, bishop c2, setting up discovered checks, and you can't play king g5, rook e5 yet. So he forces the king away from his past G pawn. And now he can trade into the rook ending. And I mean, the position has to be very good for white at this point. You just trade on d5 and play rook f4.
That's right.
Bach does one of the longest remaining calculations of the game, 10 seconds.
Dude, he's winning this. He got better king, better pawns, but he has to convert. But he looks very determined right now. I feel like he
giving it his all.
Knows he's not losing this.
Yeah. But has he switched to bullet mode? Is this potentially a bullet mode with the hand over the face? I mean, I think Benjamin's a fast player. We'll see if this is enough to do it. See, to me, Nakamura looks like he's in bullet mode. He's got 3 minutes, but
Oh, they're repeating?
takes the draw. Oh my goodness.
Wow. I mean, he could have gone king f7 there, but still a check, and then he comes back.
I mean, he would have to block his G pawn at some point. That would be the move to try to win, right?
Yeah, and then the e pawn runs.
And then the E
But
pawn
he
runs.
didn't have enough time
Have to
to understand why he didn't want to.
Yeah, and he has to calculate, rook f2 as well. I mean, rook h1 is, with full calmness, is a perfectly good answer to it, but there's a lot that could freak you out there. Suppose I should see if there are any other games still going this round, and if David Parabian is still playing, that's an important game for the standings. So he's up against Tregyubov, and he relegates the king to the 8th rank.
If Bach wins this, does he get to play the next candidates? Yeah, I think that's right.
And have Hikaru comment on his channel.
Yeah. Okay, so again, we've seen a lot of bishop versus knight in games here.
Yeah, the bishop's short on squares, thanks to this beautiful knight on a light square outpost.
I see the chat here catching up to the Bach result.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are in a bit of a delay, but yeah, I was expecting you guys to not love that.
There. I think that game would have actually been well within range for Bach to win. 30 seconds in an endgame where he's only got about another 30 moves to play, 20 to 30 moves. I'm actually surprised he didn't win.
Yeah, I feel like if his opponent is someone else there, he probably pushes for the win. But it's hard. It's like I think Magnus has an effect on all the top players, and I feel like Hikaru has an effect when you're playing him online. It's like you just know he's so fast. If you get into any kind of time scramble, like you better be sure you're winning.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
You better be sure. So the passed H pawn, it's like an extra outside passed H pawn. Knights hate those things, and yet Black is just so active that they're staying in the fight. And we haven't yet seen Parabian take a moment to advance it, a single square, right? Since we joined this game. He's played G4, potentially supporting it, but at the moment that's mainly losing the F3 pawn. So
yeah, he's lost
comfortable so far.
He's lost the pawns here. Now he's just playing for this mating construction with bishop on the diagonal, pawn to G6, and then maybe some back range.
Kostya, look at this win that Black had here. Rook F1, King H2, Knight G4, King G2, Knight takes E5, hitting the Rook. And on Rook D8, Rook F8 check.
Very nice. Yes, but okay, these players have seconds.
Just seconds.
Oh, it's going to be another mess.
Let's see if Tregyubov has sped up after the flagging against So.
He could have gone Rook G7 there, but I think he wants to keep more pieces on. Now Black trying to get some counterplay. Oh, these guys got to move.
3 seconds. Parabian's going to be more experienced with this. He plays a lot of these events. And the flag is ever in his favor.
The flag is in play, yeah. Yeah, it was a young man.
Yeah.
No chance there for Tregyubov.
Online chess favors the young and the Nakas. So that concludes round 8 for us. Let us check on the standings after that round. Hikaru and Bach still clinging, sort of in the tiebreak range to approximately 8th place. They're tied with Sarana and Dubov and Abu Dhabi for those final spots there. Bortnik looks safe, and Wesley, Parabian, and Big Fish, etc. If they hit somebody who's willing to just agree to a draw with them in the last round, they'll get to that 6.5 and they'll qualify for sure as well.
Right. So 6.5 definitely gets you in, it seems like. Just looking at these tie breaks, because there's not enough players with 5.5 that can catch up. They're all going to be playing each other. So Bortnik, Bach on 5.5. Now that's a question. Does he take a quick draw? that seems really risky for him, right?
Mhm.
I think you got to kind of try to play for the win. Let's see. Then we
Yeah.
have, what are some of the other pairings for this round?
Let's see.
Oh, looks
So
like, yeah. So
Karavia
Dropstone and Big
and
Fish, they're done.
Fedoseev, they drew, so they're through.
They're in.
Next through no matter what, but he's getting paired with Bach, who may feel like he needs to win. Hikaru has just drawn.
Hikaru draws with Wesley. Interesting. So Hikaru banks on 6 points being enough.
Confident on his tie breaks, I guess.
But is he right? Can we check his math on this? There's 2 players from the 5.5 group that can jump over him.
Right.
Which puts him in the 7th spot. If soon we have 2 decisive results there. And then he would need
to get passed twice and tied twice. Or what could even be worse for him is if the players on 5.5 all draw and then they all have better tie breaks than him.
Yeah. So is that possible?
It is possible. I mean, I have no way to predict the tie breaks. That's like way beyond the back of the envelope math that I do during a tournament.
I mean, honestly, these quick draws are kind of a bummer usually, but I feel like it's fun. It's like so many players doing it, and they're all like kind of, it's like a tiebreak game. It's a different kind of competition compared to just rapid chess. But it's kind of fun to see them all like analyzing like their back of the envelope calculations. And because we saw Bach there, first he was playing, then they agreed to a draw.
Yeah.
So Bach thinks he's in. Right.
Maybe he was following Hikaru. He's like, oh, Hikaru says we've got enough. Okay. He played through a lot of these.
Yeah, I mean, those tie breaks are probably pretty good for Bach.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him a bunch today, which means he was up on the top boards, right? If we were watching his games. Yeah.
But here we have one of the games that's still very important for the qualifications. We have Dubov with 5.5 against Noterbeck, who's on 5.
Mm-hmm.
So Noterbeck, actually, he's in an absolute must win. Dubov can still draw and potentially qualify.
Yeah. They're in the Catalan again. And Noterbeck has sacked the E5 pawn, which is a bold pawn to sacrifice, I must say.
Yeah. I'm noticing he's got 9.5 minutes on his clock, though, which is a lot, suggesting that he's familiar with this idea.
He's prepared. He's seen some of Dubov's previous games.
Mm-hmm.
Knight C6. Wow. So allowing pawn takes, the queen must wander. C5 looks okay for her.
Right.
I mean, in these positions, let me tell people, you never really want to take with your bishop, even if it wins you a pawn. Like as white, even if black didn't have rook b2, you're never playing for this kind of a position where the black, bishop's on d5 and you've got some stupid knight against it. Never. Or
h3. Yeah, it's very, very dangerous to give up the fianchetto bishop. I actually remember I had this line as white in a tournament, open tournament many years ago, and I ended up losing. Actually, I first played the game as white, and then I lost because I did give up the light square bishop, and then I got mated on the light squares. The next game I played the same line as black, and lost because like my structure was weak. So I've been on both sides of this position.
The opposite of having mastery over a position.
Yeah. No, but I think it's one of the only, like, it doesn't happen often that you lose 2 games in a row in the same variation with opposite colors. It was literally back-to-back rounds in the tournament. It was kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. Now I appreciate the record, the trivia.
Yeah. So with e4, he gives up the d3 square to this knight. But on the positive side, Noterbeck's finally out of book, right? So
Mm-hmm.
That's always a relief, at least, even if you're not happy with your position. The moment your opponent finally has to think about one of their moves, big relief.
Yeah, but what is he thinking about here? Does rook a8 force a draw if he wants? Because I don't think he doesn't want it, but
rook a8, queen c5, knight
curious, because then there's knight d3, yeah. That queen is
But
trapped.
Noderbek's must win, right? So
He is. He's got 5 out of 8.
so you can't think too long about that.
But that's the problem with the prep, because if the prep ends in a perpetual, you're in a must-win game. What are you supposed to do exactly? Because, okay, bishop e6 here is kind of the other move, but then white is given a chance to get out with the queen. It does go rook a8. Peats once. Takes on e4. Bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo.
So Dubov, if he trades, it brings another attacker to his d pawn. That's not necessarily favorable, but it does discoordinate the 8th rank a little bit, right? So the rook on b8 is no longer overprotected. So he does go for that. And now, I mean, is it just knight c4 to fix his pieces? Queen c5. Well, for queen d4, that looks largely like a wasted tempo.
Yeah, I must have been worried about something there. I don't know. d3.
Knight d3. It goes on an adventure.
Yeah, you know, White's king is still weak. Like, even though they both gave up their light square bishop, White's has this g3 move in, and you can imagine a knight landing on e5 and f3.
Right.
It's after very dangerous. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some risk factor now. Wow. Black brings in the queen. Post is saying, watch out for this. We also have to watch out for just a simple move like rook e2, or depending on our back rank status, rook b2 would be a dream. Knight b5, forcing things.
Yeah, very, very tricky.
Queen e4. Got to be careful about that rook.
But yeah, he's got this rook under attack. Here, I think a queen trade feels like White would be happy about. Now, one move I think that's not great is rook takes b5, sacrificing the exchange. Then White would have queen a8 check. And the classic
for all the pieces finish away, like in a puzzle rush.
Yeah, you prove queen b8, queen d8, queen e8. That's the proper. Not in a real game, because you don't know which one they're going to play. But
yeah.
In puzzle rush, yeah, you can remove it.
All right, the knight improves itself from a3 a little bit. And he says, by the way, if things don't go your way on the king side, you're going to have to worry about this.
Yeah, but they always come up with something. These top guys, they always come up with some upside to play for. Now it gives black something to think about. Of course, feels like black should have very much enough. Yeah, h5.
e5, kind of
covering the back rank. Absolutely.
Nice mirror to a4 as well.
Yeah, no, I think h5 definitely is the move here. All the pieces look well placed.
Yeah, if you can't improve your pieces,
there it is.
There it is. We told him
we can call some moves.
Knight comes back to b5. He's looking at queen c7 or queen c4, actually. So he didn't think the a pawn was fast enough to be the main plan here. He's looking to take apart some of the support that black has in the center of the board. Or
because queen c7, there was rook takes b5.
Or off for another trade. Queen c7, rook b5. That's complicated, check. Right?
Yeah. I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah. And we don't have time to figure it out. He's going another way. Rook g4, Noderbek not going back to d4 because, again, must-win situation for black.
No, it looks, I mean, he's definitely creating chances here.
Regardless of who's better.
5. Dubov, he's playing like someone who's okay with a draw.
Yeah, like he's groveling. I mean, hopefully he's right that a draw is good enough for him, because at some point Noderbek might say, yeah, I can't avoid it anymore. Like, here's the draw. And then you're like, oh, did I really want to draw, or was I trying to bully you with like the threat of a draw?
Yeah, no, I don't think he was drawing. I think he's bullying. Exactly. He's saying, like, I know you need the win. I know you don't want the end game. So here's an end game.
Yeah.
And rook b2, Noderbek's like, you know what? I will not be pushed around. I will beat you in the end game, sir.
Yeah. I mean, he
he's
does
got an
have
extra pawn now,
2 passed pawns.
but doesn't feel like either of these pawns are better than white's a pawn.
At the moment, no. And I guess on rook c2, white could just ignore and push at this point.
Push, yeah.
Getting so close.
Now white has to be careful. You push a6, a7, you might lose this pawn. Rook d8, rook a8, rook b7. So just to keep a healthy amount of support, maybe rook a5 somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the rook on f1 is the one that really needs to figure things out somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be feeling rook fb1 here as white.
Yeah, absolute must win for Noterbeck. He's number 11 right now in the standings, chess warrior.
Yeah,
And
he's also number 13 in the season standings, right? So he needs to gain a little ground here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, top 13 qualify for the finals at the end of the season.
So rook fb1, rook c2, a7. Would that win for white? Knight d5.
Hanging the knight.
Heading to c7 to help the pawn.
You can't take because of a7. Very annoying.
I mean, maybe you could take and then on a7 play rook d8. That doesn't feel lost to me.
That's true. Yeah. And again, he's kind of using the threat of the draw against Noterbeck here. He might not have losing chances there, but probably not winning either. So do you want that in up to you, or do you want to keep some chances on the board? It's like a real prisoner's dilemma here. It's kind of going on. You know what I mean?
How far can you push him with this before he breaks and just says fine?
Yeah.
At some point you've gone too far. I thought it really made sense to bring out the rook. I'm strongly surprised that I mispredicted this move.
But this is very annoying for black to deal with. You do not want to allow knight c7 attacking the a8 square.
Right. So if we don't want to play rook d5, were there other options? He looks for one.
Yeah, rook a8.
On a7, he plays rook b7. It's a clever move order. And on knight c7, he plays rook a7.
Yeah.
Easy. See this knight d5 move. That was lame, Daniil.
Feels like black is he's holding on.
Yeah.
Now where does the knight go? Yeah,
the c7 pawn hardly mattered, right? It was really the c4 and the a6 pawns that mattered, and
it took some time off of black's clock. I mean, I feel like it was not easy to deal with.
That's true. Rook a8 was a good move, and he had to take the time to figure it out and find it, but he did.
F6 now.
Right, that knight's happy where it is, so just anchor it against rook e1 and rook a5 moves. It was going to happen anyway at some point.
Yeah, now 3 minutes left. So Noterbeck might have been thinking about, can I try to flag him somewhere? But that's still a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now looking to trade rooks, and rook takes b1. He's going to take with the knight, I guess, or he wanted to keep the a pawn alive. Rook b3.
Yeah. I mean, this rook's dealing with this pawn, so I think the draw is in hand. Not that either of these players really wants the draw, but
no, I think at this point Dubov is very much okay with it. He's just like got nothing else.
Yeah, and he did offer a draw while making this move, rook b1 just now.
He wants to, he doesn't want to get flagged.
Wow, Noterbeck tries to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, he has to. He needs to qualify, needs to win. He's going to use Dubov's trackpad against him.
I mean, I don't see what black has to even squeeze anything here. Rook a4, come behind the b pawn and attack it again with the rook. Knight c6 or c2 to prevent it, and then you play rook a5 and you come there anyway. Yeah,
Dubov's very comfortable here.
Do not
And
see
he's
how
found nice repetition too.
So we've got the standings filling out below us, right? Bortnick 7, Wesley qualifying. We didn't get to see him last week in the knockout, so that makes this week's knockout more exciting to me to have Wesley in it.
T5. Okay, now 93. Finally, the pawns can come off here.
Yeah, but even that's just one phase, huh? Noterbeck's going to keep going.
Still a lot of pieces on the board. Yeah. Honestly, I think Noterbeck is fast enough that if he wants it bad enough, he can probably win this one still.
Yeah, well, we remember Dubov's situation. He said if he gets down to like 20 seconds or something, you know, he's basically just resigned. Rook b6 here would be very effective if you're trying to draw, right? Rook b6 for white.
Get the rooks off. Yeah, that might have been missed.
The crowd is chanting for a flag. They want their pound of flesh.
They want the blood.
But the crowd is really just one person who capitalizes all their letters to seem like more. The technique often employed by my uncle.
Okay, but I mean, you know, he's still like rook b6, f5. He goes rook b2. 92.
Back and forth and around they go. Now the knight could get to e4 in some case. This is going to cost
full full timer here.
Daniil a moment. Definitely getting lower on time. He spots rook c2. That's good.
Nice. Game continues.
Endless this game. Because I'm just going to look if there's a game more interesting than this. I know the crowd wants a flag, but let me check in on Serrana.
Yeah, what's happening? Oh, this is interesting.
So these two players are on the cusp as well of qualifying, right? 5.5 each. Looks like Serrana's perhaps losing with white here. I mean, with that rook trap on a1. Is there a reason
he's playing for a Zugzwang? I think he wants to triangulate with the rook. So rook a4 and then rook a3 now.
A3. So
very nice.
Check and come back.
Very nice. Now king h3. Yeah, he's winning the pawn with check. Still has to win the game, but that's big because then the king is just cut off and black's king just walks over. So he couldn't just walk with the king to b2 because white would be getting some kingside counterplay with the two pawns.
All right, well done by Peronic. That was dominating, and we'll see him tomorrow for sure.
That means he's qualifying with 6.5. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if you go back to this position here, I think that the obvious plan is just walk your king over to b2, right? Yeah. And I was wondering why doesn't he do that? And I guess like the concern is when his king gets to c2 at some point, in that kind of position. Like if you imagine here, the black king comes to c2 with the white king on h3. Once the king's on c2, there you're looking for some like rook a2 check, rook a2 g4, trying to transpose it to pawn against rook. But maybe just rook a3 check, and you can never actually make it work.
But white can also think about playing g4 like without the king on the third rank. Okay. I think basically it's just a little complicated for black, so he wanted to do it.
Pawn takes and just start pushing the h pawn with the black king.
Yeah, you never know. Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I think it was really very clever how he like used the fact that his rook could move and white's couldn't to do that to Zugzwang. All right, we'll go back to, Chess Warriors game ended with Duel Last. They drew in the end.
They drew. So what was the final position? Can we see?
I can't.
Oh, that's okay. That's
it was probably knight and 3 against knight and 3.
Yeah, let him off the hook.
Here we've got Jospim, who if he wins with white, but he can't win with white, so it doesn't even matter. Down a bishop to Vidit.
Oh, but David, he took on a5 and white missed rook h5 check. Oh, but it's the right color pawn anyway. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, that was we had.
That could have been a big deal, yeah.
Oh yeah, but here black can trade rooks and still completely winning. And so as long as he can just keep everything defended,
Was the
He's got
rook
20
behind it again?
seconds.
He's lucky to have the correct bishop, but he does. So he's got this game.
Yeah,
so
but
let's check out the standings. These may be more or less final standings below us. I'll leave the position running, but looks like Bach is currently 8th behind Hikaru and Dubov, and I don't think anyone else is coming up to 6 points.
How many does Vidit have? Vidit just won?
Chess mood does.
Oh, but Vidit, he only has 5.5 now after this win. Because Yospim, he was still in contention. But okay, Hrant just made it a tiebreak game.
Just
He's
made
the
it.
9th player. Although we haven't seen him at all. I've got to think that his tiebreaks are probably not.
Are they rearranging the tiebreaks now? Because there's still one game we're still going, but that's it. Those were the last.
That's done. So Hikaru, he actually gets the 8th spot on tiebreak behind Benjamin Bach, behind Dubov, but enough to qualify.
So at the last moment, the little switch was that Bach got some point on a low board, right? And passed Hikaru in the tiebreaks. And that sets up a rematch of Bortnik versus Hikaru. That is an insane
round 1 of the knockout.
Round 1 for tomorrow, because Bortnik, of course, he played an incredible game of the tournament today when he beat Hikaru, and that's why he's in first and was in first the whole time, and Hikaru was in 8th here. That was the one game Hikaru lost, and that was the game that gave Bortnik permission to draw like his last 4 games in a row. Okay.
Yeah, the end of the Dubov Noterbeck game looks like Dubov managed to force a trade of knights, and Noterbeck decided not to test them in the rook endgame.
The rook versus 3. So let's see how they got to that moment, because up till that point, Dubov was kind of getting tortured a little bit, and we were afraid that the trackpad, which he talked about and admitted after winning last time, we're afraid that trackpad might be his undoing here, and Noterbeck, clearly comfortable with the mouse and the flagging technique in general. So it looked really dangerous for Daniil, but what he found here, rook and knight attacked, scary moment as well. Finds rook c2. That's a nice move.
Yeah,
that's a nice move. Hitting that knight. Rook d3. Now all his pieces are safe. So he gets out of one scary moment. Back and forth with the knight. A lot of people would want to play g4 to lock the knight in, but then that gives black the f4 square for their knight, hanging pawn on g4. So it's interesting. Dubov prefers to have the knight unsecured, right? But
yeah, and also he's playing to draw, so he wants to kind of avoid pushing pawns and resetting the 50 move rule if he can. Just keeping the attention,
keeping his tactical eye open. So he works with that with the knight here. Then he gets rook check, and if king e6, he's got knight g7,
right,
and grab the h5 pawn. So Noterbeck came to g6. I mean, again, you definitely don't want to get trapped on the 8th rank in this kind of position. That really hurts you a bit. So he just plays normal king g6, allows the knight trade, and there agreed to the draw offer from Dubov. And that moment put Dubov, last week's winner, just barely qualifying into tomorrow's knockout, and keeps Abdusadarov, the world rapid champion, on the sidelines for tomorrow. He'll earn 1 or 2, probably 2 Grand Prix points anyway, for finishing probably in 9th through 16th place. But some of his other top contenders for this Rapid Chess Championships, the 12 spots in the final, some of his other competitors for that are probably going to gain more points. So this was a game you could see how much Noterbeck wanted it.
Yeah, big hold by Dubov, especially not getting ground down in the time scramble at the end. And that's our critical moment for Dubov to qualify for tomorrow's knockout. And speaking of the knockout, I guess we have our bracket ready here.
Yeah. So we can see all the pairings for tomorrow. These are now official. The number 1 seed, Bortnick with White against Hikaru. The number 2 seed, Wesley So, will have White against Benjamin Bach. Oh my goodness, this is a juicy, juicy bracket.
Oh yeah.
And then our 3rd seed, David Paravian, Dropstone DP, take White against last week's winner, Daniil Dubov. And Fedoseev will get the last White against Abhimanyu Puranik.
Yeah, and we got to say Puranik, he's the dark horse here in this knockout because he doesn't have a photo yet. He's not established enough. Have a photo ready.
I mean, yeah, and we've got like 5 players at 2,700 in this bracket. Bortnick, obviously, in Rapid Chess is a super GM level at Rapid Chess. That's going to be incredible tomorrow. That will be on at the exact same time as today, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern. We'll run for about 3 hours. Each match is shown one at a time, so you won't miss any moves or any games. If you want more information about it, you can go to go.chess.com/RCC for more information about the Rapid Chess Championships, which has 6 weeks left in the regular season before the finals. And one more event coming up even sooner than that, in just half an hour or less. You'll be able to watch your favorite NFL stars compete for their share of $100,000 in charity funding. Legendary wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald will be joined by some of the biggest names in the league. Catch Cleveland Browns receiver Amari Cooper, Dallas Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons, top 5 draft pick Kayvon Thibodeau, and others. All goes down later today, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, right here on chess.com. And just a quick note, because we're on the ChessCom live channel, everybody, I expect that one will be on the /chess channel. So move over there to watch that. I believe that one of our finalists for tomorrow's Rapid Chess Championship, Benjamin Bach, was coaching one of the Blitz Champs participants earlier this week. I think I saw him giving a chess lesson to an NFL player. So they'll be ready. They'll be ready.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back tomorrow, right, David, for the knockout. Same time as today, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And in the meantime, if you folks are missing us, you can catch us on twitch.tv/chessdojo live, where we live and stream on a daily basis.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.